will. In other words, he's basically saying, "Look," and there are allegedly no trans players. Now I'm gonna get that. There's nuance, I think, in the National Soccer League. So what happens is that, um, this athlete named, I think it was Elizabeth Eddy is her name, she writes this piece in the Post saying, "Hey, look, for the future of women's sports, my sport in particular, this woman's very accomplished who wrote the piece. We gotta make sure that we have guidelines moving forward," right? So then her own teammates from the LA team, and I think I played some of this audio yesterday, since I'm kinda on this right now, I may as well just get into it. So then one of her teammates, who's one of the captains, goes on and does this on
We
social.
don't agree with the things written for a plethora of reasons, but mostly the undertones come across as transphobic and racist as well. The article calls for genetic testing on certain players and has a photo of an African player as a headline, and that's very harmful. And to me, it's inherently racist because to single out this community based on them looking or being different is absolutely a problem. And as a woman with a black family, I'm devastated by the undertones of this article.
Okay, so they didn't like it
if
at
we
all.
only want women to play.
Right. And that's certainly a legitimate part of this, and I don't really understand it. And Jen's been very, vocal. She was on CNN, and she even said
she was on Fox.
Fox.
Today.
I'm sorry, she was on Fox, and she basically said, Eddie, who wrote the piece, may have been even too kind.
I don't know. These women just spewed all of the same old tropes. They called her racist. They said what she said was harmful. It's ridiculous. The op-ed was so gently worded. I mean, it couldn't have been nicer. In fact, I think she should have been more assertive. And these women waited a few days, and they just came out and they smeared her. It was brave to do what she did, but I think we need a bit more of a take no prisoners approach. I think we can't really negotiate with these folks.
Okay, so here's what's confusing to me, and I'm just going to admit, and this is why I wanted Jen on this afternoon. There was a picture that was associated with the New York Post article that was deemed racist by the captain of the team that you heard right there, because there's a player that is named Barbara Banda, who is, I believe, a Nigerian player who's been in this league for a long time, very, very successful. She plays for the Orlando Pride. She, how do I say this nicely? She looks like a man, okay? That doesn't make her a man. Does not make her a biological man. In fact, it seems like she's not transgender, okay? Now, I bring this up because remember what happened with the Olympic boxing controversy. That person, Khalif, was not transgender. There were some, birth-related abnormalities, if you will, but there were male chromosomes there. So essentially what Ms. Eddy is saying is, look, we've seen this happen in other sports, right? We don't want it to happen to the future of our sport because we think that's very dangerous. But the thing that's got me most curious about this, and again, you have no coverage by the sports journalism world out there. Like, if you Google this right now, you wouldn't see ESPN writing about it. And everything that I read, I mean, everything, I've read about 5 or 6 pieces on this. They all indicate that Banda is a cis woman, born biological, all this stuff. So there has to be another side of the story, right? You got J.K. Rowling is also involved in this one. She's tweeted about it, and Riley Gaines, et cetera. So it's almost, and Fred, I don't even know if you understand what I'm saying here. It's like, I don't get why they're focusing on this person in the NWSL if they're not trans. Now, if it's one of those borderline situations with chromosomes, that's possibly what the whole op-ed was about anyway. But it's interesting because this one is a little less defined. Now, here's Jen say on why Eddy spoke up.
She's a veteran in the league, I think over 10 years in the league. I think she just knows what's right. She knows it's right that men should not be competing in women's sports. And if you stay quiet on it, that's pulling up the ladder behind you. And I hope that she is inspired to be much more assertive at this point and not to back down. We haven't heard from her yet since her teammates have issued the scathing response, nonsensical response. They didn't respond to the materiality of what she was saying. No. They just called her a racist. Right. It's crazy. It has nothing to do with it.
I agree with Jen on that. However, I'm still a little confused by the accusations about this player. What the captain of the team was saying, look, when this was put in the New York Post, they put a picture of Barbara Banda in there, and that's racist and all this stuff. I will be honest with you. There are some questions about this one that are a little undefined, and maybe there's nuance that I'm not seeing. But Jen had a family emergency. She was supposed to be on tonight, and I don't think she can join us tomorrow either, right, Fred?
Right.
So, but I know she has a lot to say on this, and I think that the story is still developing. Okay, it is election day. I did not have time this morning. Shout out to Spieler Automotive, Clayton and Josh's son, because I had a tire. I had this tire that kept slow leaking, right?
Oh.
And every couple of days, like I got into the habit, even before the alert went on, I just pulled into the QT and used their deal, right? So today the warning light goes on, the air pressure's low. I pull into the QT, and I don't know if it was the stem of the tire. I have no idea, but what it was doing was releasing air from the tire, right?
Yeah,
So
that's just get a bike.
that
pump
wasn't good.
And doing it at home.
but I don't even know if that would have mattered. So anyway, I take
Oh.
it to Spieler Automotive. They're out in my neck of the woods. Clayton's a huge listener. His son Josh kind of runs the place, and they took good care of me. There was a nail. That was in there, and that was creating the slow leak.
Somebody around you getting a roof.
This
This is happening a lot
Well,
lately.
they're fixing a damn road by my house. Is
They're
what they're
not
doing.
using nails.
Well,
in
but
that.
that's probably true.
Yeah. So just gonna point that out.
Someone's got. I'm going to blame somebody though in the
Of
neighborhood.
course. Of course.
Now, that didn't really lead me down the path of why I was kind of still pissed off today, but some of the politics, because it is election day. Okay, that's what it was. I'm going to refocus. I have not voted. That's why I didn't vote. Had to go to Spieler Automotive. Was on my way to vote. Didn't vote. Going to vote tonight when I get off the air. I have time to do that. I'm voting in my neighborhood, my neck of the woods, if you will, on Prop S. That's a Rockwood school levy. It's not insignificant. I'm not going to lie, but I'm voting for it because it's for teacher retention and added security. And I said yesterday, and the last couple of times I've talked about it, I understand why some people might, vote no. And I'm worried it's going to fail, and I don't know exactly what happens next because, well, Sue, there's an anti-tax sentiment out there.
Well, yeah, a lot
you
of
know,
people don't want to pay more.
If you look at the message boards on some of this, and people are pretty fired up. I'm not going to lie. Like, if you have a house that is not modest, because they always do this thing where, like, well, if you have a $200,000 house, then you're going to be paying this much. If you have a $400,000 house, you're going to be paying that much. Not to be elitist or anything like that, but there are a lot of people, including myself, that don't have houses that are in that price range. They're a little higher. So because of that, the tax implication is a lot higher. And if I'm someone who doesn't have a kid in the district and, I'm wondering about allocation resources, maybe I don't vote for it. But I've chosen and I've looked at it, believe me, and I understand. I've gotten some emails that have been shared with me from listeners who don't like the
agree.
proposal, and that's
Yeah.
fine. Then you vote against it. I vote for it. You vote against it. We'll see what happens. And there's a couple other things. But what really is going on today is, and this is, we're going to see what the tone is tomorrow because it's election day. It's election day in Virginia, in New York. Mamdani's going to win this race in New York. I do think New Jersey with Citarelli, that one's closer than I think anyone would expect. So the Republican has a chance there. I think that Spanberger is going to win, unfortunately, comfortably over Winsome Earl Sears. I don't really understand that one. However, I know that Josh Kraushaar, who is a Virginian and one of our political pundits, is going to join us next, and he'll have some answers to all of those questions. There was a story that I found about the city's pension fund, and there is one of the whack job, way progressive liberals, Rasheen Aldridge, on the St. Louis Board of Aldermen, who wants to divest from Boeing and other defense firms that have supplied weapons to Israel. Jeff Rainford's going to weigh in on that at the bottom of the hour. I think he's booked for the roundtable on Friday as well. And then I'm very excited this afternoon because if I say the name Mark Judge, 99% of you out there will not know the name. But he's a very interesting character. And the way that Mark Judge kind of came back into the public sphere, if you will. And he had written books and he had been kind of out there doing some stuff. But he was dragged into the whole Kavanaugh hearing thing because he went to school, to the prep school with Brett Kavanaugh and Squee and all these other things that were going on. But Mark also writes and he contributes. And his pieces are very unique and they're different at hotair.com. And he wrote a piece that is about the media and concerns about how we would all agree that Democrat bias is certainly prevalent, but there's some conservative things out there, especially surrounding Tucker Carlson, and I touched on this yesterday, where I don't think the conservative media is doing people in this country any justice by not telling the truth a little bit more as well. So that's coming up at 4:30. We got a lot to go to here this afternoon. Fred, what else is coming up in that? Gerry Baker from the Wall Street Journal. Oh, this is kind of fun.
Right.
Yeah, explain John Bains.
Yeah, so at the Game 7 of the World Series in Toronto, the ninth inning game-tying home run was hit into the bleachers, and a man named John Bain caught it. In the 11th inning, I believe it was Will Smith's home run was hit into the bleachers, and a
Matthew.
guy named Matthew Bain bought it. It was father
his
and
son. Yeah.
So the two of them caught these two exclusive baseballs.
That's amazing.
So we'll talk with the father coming up at 5:30.
And so Joe
That's
Arnold
cool.
sent me that yesterday from Louisville. You know, Joe and Jennings and I are the baseball thread guys. We should add you to that thread. And he said, get Fred on this. He can book anyone. And look at that. He did right away. It took no time whatsoever.
How about old Fred
Yeah,
Bottenheimer
there we
over there,
go.
ladies and gentlemen?
Kenny knows.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident reported eastbound 6440 past Mason. Watch for that in the right lane. Now, crews just cleared an accident southbound 170 approaching 64. Traffic has yet to unwind behind it. And of course, Illinois drivers, we still have that jam westbound. And this is all due to road work in the left lanes, 5564 from the 70 split across, or at least partially across the Poplar Street Bridge. We've got a jam right now, and I mean a parking lot jam back to Exchange. Now, elsewhere, westbound 40 is just a little slow at Hanley. 70 westbound looks good out of downtown. And southbound 270 slowing at Ladue Road, and one more time at Doherty Ferry. 55, of course, slow at Bates. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Your garage door is always there for you, rain or shine. Are you taking your garage door for granted? Is it screeching and whining for attention? For same-day service, call 314-781-5200 and schedule online at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
I often, when I talk about Susan L. Ward, I say I have help for you if you need it, if you're going through or about to go through a divorce, but I hope you don't because it's a tough thing. But I can assure you that the whole experience, and I share this with friends. Actually, I have two friends going through divorces right now, and I had not heard from them in a while, and then finally they reached out a couple of months ago when I poked around, and yeah, in both those situations, the marriage was ending and it was uncomfortable. But if you have good representation, someone with experience like Susan, the whole process is going to go a lot easier. You might even be shocked at how much of a difference getting your particulars in front of the right judge might impact your case. And they know all of these things at the law offices of Susan L. Ward, LLC. They have a great new office, too, by the way. It's in De Pere at 270 in Manchester. The website has everything you need, a confidential consultation form and all that. The number for Susan is 314-783-9400. The website, stlfamilylaw.com.
Stop just trying to paint and patch up the outside of your home. It's time to give it a permanent upgrade with James Hardy Fiber Cement Siding from Lakeside Renovation and Design. This siding is designed to stand up to all the crazy weather we get here in Missouri, and it looks fantastic. Lakeside is a James Hardy Elite Preferred Contractor. Whole team, by the way, is in-house, and they're going to take care of all the details, the color, the trim, everything to customize it to your home, to take the stress off of your plate. If your home is showing any signs of wear, it's time to take the next step. Visit lakesiderd.com.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Missouri can count on.
All right, you pick them. You don't have to take my word for it. Lots of 5-star reviews out there for my friends at Rhino Shield because, like me, there are a lot of satisfied Rhino Shield customers. And what does that mean? Well, maybe you're satisfied because it's exactly the color and beautiful, vivid color that you wanted, right, with the trim and all of that. They can do in different colors, just like you would with regular paint, but it lasts for so long. Maybe you're happy because you're not out there scraping or having to pay somebody to scrape and paint every 4 or 5 years. That's what happens with regular paint. Not Rhino Shield. Goes on thick, waterproofs your house completely, protects it from the rays of the sun, gives you an insulation factor. It's fantastic. They've used it on HGTV, on unpainted brick, block, aluminum, steel, Hardy cement board. It's fantastic on all of it. Call them today for a free evaluation, 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Here's another reason I was pissed off, Sue. I couldn't watch the damn football game last night. I tried on ESPN Plus. I was able to watch Mizzou and Howard play, and that was interesting. Mizzou was like crushing them, and then I tuned back in, and it was a 10-point game. I'm like, oh my god! But they won by like 21 points. But yeah, they haven't solved this YouTube TV thing. It's just
drag it on.
Trump needs to get involved here. This is a national crisis. It really is. Josh Kraushaar is here, who is a political insider of 97.1 FM Talk, editor-in-chief of the Jewish Insider. I don't know if you have YouTube TV, but don't you think this is something the White House should get involved with, Josh? Come on.
Well, let me tell you, I have Hulu, and I like Hulu a lot better, and it's I also have cable too. So but Hulu I found is a more user-friendly platform. So the one thing I would recommend is just it's easy to switch these days. Just switch over to a different app. And
but I have Hulu, but I still couldn't. I got the Disney bundle, and I thought I was going to be able to watch the game, and I don't know. Nobody cares. Let's move on to politics. It was just frustrating. Did you ever cover or work at all with Dick Cheney? Dick Cheney passed away today. I didn't mention that in the open.
Yeah, look, when I first started covering politics, it was the 2000 election, the Bush-Cheney campaign. That vice presidential debate that Cheney had with Joe Lieberman, that was seemingly from an era long past. And both of those really dignified. And,
by the way, was that here by any chance, Darren? Because WashU used to always do the vice presidential ones.
Yeah, I can't.
I'll look it up.
Wasn't there, but
I'll look it up.
WashU is definitely a frequent host of the VP debates. But I mean, that was from a time that it wasn't that long ago. It doesn't seem like, but that was two really mainstream figures in the party. People who were moderates, and even though that election ended with hanging chads and it went to overtime, that was the end of a less just. I think our politics got more extreme, more tribal, more partisan after that. And, Gore and Bush didn't have a whole lot of difference ideologically ever since then. We've seen the parties get more and more divided and the ideologies getting more and more far apart. So, look, Dick Cheney, I mean, the real legacy, and I remember this quite well because I started covering politics just as the war, right after the Iraq War began, the war on terror, his national security policies drove the left crazy. That was a big political debate for years and years and years in my first decade of covering U.S. politics and elections. And look, I think Dick Cheney's legacy is going to be viewed a lot differently in the final stage of his career when he, joined his daughter to endorse against Donald Trump and said he supported Kamala Harris, which is something I would have never imagined in my career covering the vice president.
Something I wish he wouldn't have done.
I think the big legacy is his policies on national security and fighting the war on terror at a time that was really, really tumultuous in our country's history.
By the way, that debate was in Kentucky. I did check. It was in Danville, Kentucky. So I want your thoughts on some of these elections that are going on in your neck of the woods. But let me start with Virginia, where I really am a fan of Winsome Sears. I've had her on the show before. I love what she is about, her whole background story. I don't know a lot about Spanberger. I've watched the polls. It's not very close. But one of the questions that no one has ever really answered, maybe because it hasn't been asked, but I need to ask you, where the hell is Glenn Youngkin in all this? Because when I was listening to something last night, I heard someone on Fox say, well, he's lost, his popularity in Virginia. Is he even involved in that race at all? Because that was a big deal when he won 4 years ago.
Yeah, very, very, very limited role for the governor, for the lieutenant governor, the number 2 in charge right now in Virginia with Winsome Earl Sears. I mean, the reality is that she's trailing badly in the polls, and she also hasn't gotten the endorsement from President Donald Trump, including last night where he did a teletown hall for Virginia Republicans, and he mentioned the lieutenant governor's name. And he mentioned the nominee for lieutenant governor and the attorney general, and did not mention Winsome Sears' name. Would not endorse her because she withheld her support for Donald Trump, and
that kind of stuff.
Enthusiastic for him.
That's just ridiculous. Yeah.
I mean that you could take it to the bank. If you don't have Trump's endorsement, you're not going to win in a blue state, right? So she's down pretty big against Abigail Spanberger, a pretty center-left, moderate-minded Democrat. I don't think Spanberger, by the way, has run a really good campaign, and to be honest, she's always had a reputation of being moderate, but in this campaign, especially on some of the more divisive issues around transgender, she's actually catered to the left, which I don't think is a great omen if she does get elected governor. But that race is looking more like a fait accompli, and Spanberger looking heavily favored.
Yeah, unfortunately, it has looked that way for a while, and maybe that's another reason he didn't get involved. All right, little different situation in New Jersey. Now, maybe conservatives have their hopes pinned a little bit too much on an upset here, but that polling has been razor sharp. So what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, Jersey has had Democratic governors from Phil Murphy two terms. And so there is this desire for change that Jack Ciattarelli, the Republican, almost won the governorship 4 years ago. Problem for Ciattarelli is that the national political environment got a little more challenging. Trump's president. He's become more aligned with President Trump in this campaign, but it's also made it harder for him to get over the finish line because New Jersey, even though it's actually getting more competitive as a state, still voted for Kamala Harris by 6 points in 2024. So, look, the polls are close. I think this one's going to be competitive. Polling and people I've talked to on the ground on both sides suggest that Cheryl has a small lead, maybe a 3 to 5 point lead, but I think this will be a close one, and we'll be counting ballots well into the night.
Okay, I don't think we're going to be counting ballots well into the night on Mamdani in New York City, and I think the real question there is, and I've kind of watched this, we all have developed over the last couple of months. It's amazing to me some of the endorsement, non-endorsements. Obama gets involved in this race. This guy is kooky as they can come, but New York City is going to elect this socialist. And I guess the question for a guy like you who covers national politics, because you have people kind of dancing around the edges here on whether they support him or whether they think he's a good candidate. What happens to the Democrats? Because, you know, guys like me are going to appropriately and accurately pin the whole party with this guy.
Yeah, well, that's why some Democrats, not everyone, have kept their distance, including Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, the state's 2 Democratic senators. Look, you can kind of look at it 2 ways. Mamdani heavily favored to win because the Mamdani opposition is divided between Andrew Cuomo, the independent, and Curtis Sliwa, the Republican. So the math just makes it almost impossible in a very Democratic city for the Democratic nominee not to win under those circumstances. The reality, though, is when you look at the polling, Quinnipiac's recent poll showed Mamdani only winning 66% of Democrats and losing all Republicans and a majority of independents. So, this is not – the question is if Mamdani gets under 50, if there's a majority of voters that actually cast a ballot against Mamdani, this is far from a mandate. He'll be the mayor. He'll serve for the next 4 years. But he's not going to have any coattails, and there's going to be an electoral empirical electoral evidence that he does not have that degree of support. That said, if he does rally young voters, progressives, if the sort of this new Democratic Party ends up rising in New York City, you'll see that number higher than 50%, and that would be more of a mandate territory for
That'll be interesting to watch. Okay, one more topic. It's got to be quick. Shutdown madness. What the hell? What happens here? When does it end? Does it end?
Well,
does it ever end?
I actually feel. Look, I think elections may actually spur the resolution along. You do have Congress back in session. It does sound like there's some negotiations going on as we speak. Look, if Democrats do well in these three big races tonight, it could give them a little more leverage, a little more momentum, a little desire to actually cut a deal and end this lengthy shutdown.
As 2 baseball fans who regularly talk about our teams, which have unfortunately fallen into very, very rough times, it was a pretty damn good World Series, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was great. I mean, Game 7, you get a Game 7. That's all you can ask for. And then it goes 11 innings. And, my God, the last few innings of that game where, I didn't even know who – I mean, I rooted for the Blue Jays maybe, but I like the Dodgers, love Shohei Ohtani and that story. But it was a game of inches. I mean, my goodness, if
it really was.
Tyler Falefa took a bigger lead off third base,
Vlad almost hits that home run to deep center. Yeah, it could. So we have this guy. I don't know if you heard about this story. This is pretty cool. There's a father and son. One, the dad caught Rojas's 9th inning home run in Toronto, and his son caught Will Smith's home run. Like right next to him. We're going to have the dad on at 5:30 tonight. Kind of a cool story.
Oh, that's amazing. What are the odds?
Hey, Josh, awesome to hook up with you. Thank you so much, and you have a great week.
Thanks,
Mark.
All right,
take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There was an accident eastbound 6440, kind of approaching Mason. And if you are in that area, of course, we're starting to see a pretty good jam going behind it. And MoDOT is reporting that they've just cleared that off to the shoulder. So hopefully that will thin out fairly quickly. It is going against rush hour. Now, westbound 64 is starting to line up just a little bit at Clayton Skinker and again at 270. Out west, a little bit at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 70 looks better out of downtown if you have a choice. And if you're headed in from Illinois, it's this road work. We've got the left lanes down. 55-64 between the 70 split and the Poplar. It's created a massive jam behind it. Right now it's back to Exchange. Also jammed is westbound traffic coming off the McKinley Bridge, southbound 55 at Bates, and southbound 270 from Page down through Ladue Road and a little bit at 21 as well. This report brought to you by the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, I just took a peek at the market. It was down today about 250 points. But I bring this up because I want to talk about the Retirement Advisor Group. And let's put all the market concerns aside. What you want is someone you can have confidence in to guide you through retirement. And if you are nervous, and you probably should be just a little bit, just because things have changed, certainly post-pandemic, you have market instability. It's been rocking lately. But how'd you like to learn a strategy to lock in your gains and not lose any of the principal? Thomas and the team at the Retirement Advisory Group, that's what they do, and they can walk you through this. We have seminars 5 times a year. We've wrapped those for 2025, but this affords you a great opportunity to go right into the office, and you can book an appointment online at retirementkey.com or call 314-993-9494. Like I always say, you really have nothing to lose. I mean, if you have a connection with Thomas, and many people do. In fact, most of the clients that I've come into contact with, they said the only regret they have is they did not meet him sooner. If you don't have a vibe, you don't have a rapport, well, then there's no obligation whatsoever. But check out what they're all about at the Retirement Advisory Group at retirementkey.com.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at USPS.com/holidays.
Men. Need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/radio for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
Fox News National, St. Louis Local, 97.1 FM Talk.
We have a Tuesday edition of Sue's News coming up in the next hour, right around 4:18 or so. So that's coming up. We have this guy, Mark Judge, who kind of got back into the public arena during the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, but he contributes and he writes at hotair.com. And his takes are really unique, so I invited Mark to become a part of the show this afternoon, so he's going to join us after Sue's News. right around 4:30. So you have this story that I saw yesterday. We'll probably talk about it. I'm sure we'll talk about it with Jane on the roundtable this week. In fact, my next guest, Jeff Rainford, is also on the roundtable. I think he's booked. But the Post is reporting that Rasheen Aldridge, who is one of the kooky members of the Board of Aldermen here in the city of St. Louis, is introducing a resolution calling for the city's public employee pension fund to divest from Boeing and other defense firms that have supplied weapons to Israel. So I thought that Jeff, who was the chief of staff for Mayor Slay many years ago, might have a bit of a grasp on this particular issue. Mr. Rainford, how are you?
Mark, M-I-Z.
Z-O-U. I must first say, in the effort of full disclosure, that Mr. Rainford invited me to the A&M game this weekend, and I will be heading to that game with you and your cousin. You said your cousin's going, right?
Yeah, my cousin and his son, and I've already chewed my fingernails off, and it's only Tuesday.
We're going to be all right, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and I can't wait, and I appreciate the offer. So on what Rasheen is doing here, this is like right out of the Progressive Handbook, I think, to a certain extent. But what's the reality of what it might mean for the city of St. Louis?
Yeah, so there's multiple pieces to it, so let me take it one piece at a time. We have a thing called the employee retirement system. So retired city employees get a pension, and there's a pension fund where money goes into it and the money is invested. And for full disclosure, I'm a retired city employee, and I'm old enough that I actually get a small city pension.
Right.
Most of us would like the board to invest the money in a way that gets the best returns, because we want to know that the city's going to be able to write the checks, not just today, but 10 years, 15, 20 years from now.
Exactly.
And so that's how it's set up. It is set up to be independent of politics. And while the city pays the bills, the mayor has only one appointment to the board. The Board of Aldermen has no appointments to the board, and a majority of the board members are retired or active city employees. So it is highly unlikely that even if the resolution passes, it is highly unlikely that it will end up anywhere other than in the circular drawer to be ignored by the board at ERS. But I don't think that Rasheen or Megan Green, who's the co-sponsor, I don't think they actually expect to change any behavior. I think they have a different purpose here.
Which is just making a point for the far left, right? I mean, that's
right.
Yeah, and I even said this yesterday, Jeff. I've been pleasantly surprised, and I kind of expected this, that we haven't heard from Kara Spencer on all this nonsense with Israel or whatever, because she's focusing on St. Louis, which is what I really appreciate. Rasheen Aldridge maybe doing that, because we can focus on safety, et cetera, things like that in the city.
Well, so I think what's going on here is Megan Green is president of the Board of Aldermen, and I'm pretty sure she asked Rasheen to do this. And Megan is up for re-election in 15 months. It's her turn. And she just watched as her other two members of ENA, Darlene Green, the comptroller, and Tashara Jones, the mayor, got beat. And my guess is that Megan has decided that her path to victory in what will be a very low turnout election is to gen up far left progressive voters in the city. And she has not been able to deliver for them. She's tried to do some far left things, but you probably haven't heard a lot of far left things making it through the Board of Aldermen.
Right.
I mean, she introduced a bill where the city was going to tell private sector employees how they could schedule overtime and lunch hours and things like that. And that did not even get out of committee. And recently you may have seen that, the city has a lot of vacant property and development has ground to a halt. And that's in part because the city will negotiate a deal with developers. Then when it gets to the Board of Aldermen, Megan Green wants to do it again, wants to renegotiate it. So you just saw a deal for the vacant property at Oakland and Kings Highway fall through. Last year, very famously at the end of the session in April, she tried to push through some progressive use for the Rams money, and that failed like on an 11-3 vote. So she hasn't been able to deliver any of the progressive stuff that her supporters want. So she's getting close to her election. So to me, that this is just posturing for her reelect, if you ask me.
In that, you said 15 months, so that would be in the spring of 27. Is that what we're saying?
Correct. March.
Okay.
Her primary is March of 27. We got the new system, so she'd be up in March of 27. Assuming she was in the top two, the final vote would be in April of 27. And you're even seeing progressive aldermen like Michael Browning from the Central West End who criticized her after this redevelopment deal fell through for that vacant property at Kings Highway and Oakland. He's even criticized her now. So she's got to be looking around and feeling the heat and being like, I got to do something here. And so, they're starting to flail at straws or flail at the wind, and this is what comes out of it.
So we'll talk about this, and we've already talked about it on past roundtables, but I'm guessing we'll certainly talk about it this Friday because today's election day, and I just covered, some of the races in New Jersey, Virginia, and New York City. But let's focus on New York City because here you have a candidate who is even to the left of Megan Green, which is hard to believe. And there are a lot of us, like when I found out, and let's face it, Jeff, before this guy won the primary, we didn't know anything about him, like here in the Midwest. There was not a lot of coverage. You find out more and more. I get horrified, but I'm also in the camp that says just let New York deal with this guy, let him burn it down and make their mistakes, because isn't he also going to have challenges, and all politicians do, at coming through on some of these promises that he's making that are so radical?
Yeah, I mean, yes, he is going to it's hard for me to imagine, as somebody who's run a smaller city, how somebody, with no experience, he's never done anything remotely like this. There's nothing in his background. I think his father's a university professor and his mother's a movie director. He was on the council. That's his experience.
That's it.
I think he's in his 30s. He has no experience. So even if you liked or didn't like his politics, he doesn't have the experience to run something this massive. And I think what we've seen in St. Louis, and we're seeing it right now in Chicago, they're on their second straight failed mayor, is that, this is going to fail, and he is going to fail. Now, what happens to New York? I would argue as a Democrat that the president is failing, and yet the country is doing fine, and the economy generally is doing fine despite him. And maybe New York City will do well despite him. It won't be because of him. It'll be in spite of him. I don't know. We'll have to see. In a poll I saw recently, something like 35% of the people who were polled said if he's elected, they're moving out of the city. So we'll
see about that. But look,
whether it has national implications is a bigger conversation.
But here's where I would focus. I'm trying to look at this maybe through a little bit of a different lens, because I think he's a kook and he's not going to be able to control rent and all these things. However, the issue that he has tapped into, whether he's a communist, socialist, or whatever, is affordability. And that's certainly a bigger issue maybe in New York City, which is why we would welcome people to relocate and have businesses here in the Midwest where you can maybe still afford a home and do things that we all used to be able to do. But I bring it up because that issue of affordability, that resonates with everyone. Now, we can't all do something about it, as we've learned, but that is something that, I don't know if Republicans have been able to tap into outside of President Trump talking about inflation. So I kind of understand why people are frustrated, but they're going to be really frustrated when they realize their rent's still going up.
Well, and I think that there's two sides to that. One is that oftentimes policies aimed at reducing costs end up increasing costs. So I don't think the president, by putting tariffs in place, thought that would increase costs, but it does. But conversely, there are a lot of progressive ideas in the city of St. Louis that have ended up driving immigrants and African Americans out of the city. So there's often unintended consequences. But the second part of it is your original point is we're spot on. Every politician in America needs to understand, first and foremost, the number one issue in America right now is affordability.
Yeah.
Now, Democrats are off key on that. I think the White House is off key on that. But he is tapping into an anxiety that exists far beyond New York City. It exists in St. Louis, even with our affordability. Stuff is not cheaper. I mean, it's one of the main reasons that voters turned out President Biden, and it's not getting better fast enough anywhere, including New York City.
And one of the issues that's related to that, this is a little bit more long term, but I've had some personal conversations with some smart people recently about AI and the implications of AI, and they're I don't know about you, but I'm frightened by the possibilities here, and this is going to impact. We've seen some big layoffs from big companies here in the last couple of weeks, and obviously, we've been able to adjust to big times in our country with new technology, but this one kind of scares me a lot. And I think younger people, I'm maybe a little happier. I'm on the other end of the spectrum right now because I worry about the future for my daughter. I mean, I'd tell every kid to go into healthcare or something like that because some of this other stuff's not going to be around.
So you're seeing this fought out at the local level around data centers. So data centers are a hot topic in St. Louis and in Missouri now after St. Charles, Republican St. Charles. Republican St. Charles, not only rejected the data center, but blew it out of the water and basically killed it for a year. And I think there's a great fear at what technology, including data centers, including crypto, all of it. It's such an unknown to people. They don't understand how it works. They don't trust the people, whether it's in Silicon Valley or elsewhere, who control it. They are certainly worried about job losses, and there will be job losses. But they're also, I think, we're concerned that our children are going to stop thinking for themselves. And instead of doing a term paper, they're going to have AI do it. And then there's obviously the science fiction worry that someday the government's going to turn major decisions like whether to launch a nuke over to AI. And so there's a lot to be scared of there. Now, I don't know how it'll turn out. The opposite side are the people who think AI is going to be God someday and is going to cure cancer and do other things like that. So,
well, there's some truth to it. That's the thing. A lot of things can be true at the same time.
To stop it.
I think a lot of things can be true at the same time, and it's not all negative, so I don't want to be misinterpreted.
Right.
But here's what I do think. I think we should be having these conversations, and there needs to be people at very high levels having conversations. And I think that some of these guys like Sam Altman and Elon, they know that. They recognize that. Look, I'm out of time. I've gone too late. We'll see you Friday on the Roundtable.
Enjoy it.
All right, take care. That's Jeff Rainford.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident reported on northbound 270 approaching Olive. Oh, there it is. Okay. Watch for that in the right center lane. It's not the far right lane, but kind of right there. And we start to see a jam build behind it. We already had volume southbound that went from Page in pockets all the way down through Gravel. A 55 southbound slowing at Bates. Westbound 64, a slow go. Kings Highway in pockets on out through the 64-70 split. 70 moderate volume right at Jennings Station Road. And it's better as you head west, although you will encounter a slow go. On the Illinois side, westbound 55-64 is jammed due to road work in the left lanes. That, by the way, will go on through Friday at 3:30. Look for heavy traffic, a jam, that goes back to Exchange. Yeah, this report is brought to you by Aspen Contracting, roofsbyaspen.com. Don't let cracked or missing siding leave your home vulnerable to St. Louis weather. Aspen Contracting has the crews and project managers ready to protect your home and restore its beauty. Call Aspen today for your free siding inspection. 636-465-1696. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Oh, she timed it out so well with that sounder there. I want to talk about Matt Lawrence, who is one of the franchisees for Game Day Men's Health. They have 3 locations in the area. They're in O'Fallon, Missouri, in Glen Carbon, Illinois, but they're also in Chesterfield, a great location where I would like to encourage you guys. Maybe you get home at the end of the day, there's no energy. Maybe you're interested in medical weight loss. They have a, here's something that's changed since earlier in the year with Game Day, and I've been talking about them for a while. They have their own pharmacy now, and that allows them to offer safe and effective medicine from their own FDA-certified pharmacies, very low prices. The treatment plans, and here's what they're offering. A free testosterone and PSA test, and it's only going to take an hour of your time. They can get the test, the results, full consultation. You're not going to feel rushed or anything. You will have a plan moving forward. That's exactly what they do. I mentioned medical weight loss. It could be focused around that. Could be, something with very unique ED treatments for erectile dysfunction. They have some treatment plans there that work, actually. So if you're looking for something, guys, the free test is right there. It's an hour in and out. You don't have to worry about taking off any time. Work, just carve out 1 hour. Game Day Men's Health. They're out in Chesterfield, right off Clarkson at Highway 6440. GameDayMen'sHealth.com.
I'm so excited. We are giving away AC/DC tickets. They're coming to town September 6th at the Dome. Be sure to listen to the Mark Cox Morning Show to win tickets to the show. We'll have a chance to win every day this week between 5 and 9 a.m.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Now that we're getting older, we've been putting more thought into maintaining our health.
We knew the water we drink every day could be filled with contaminants, so
We called Leaf Home Water Solutions.
they came to our home and did a free water test and gave us the analysis right away.
We were shocked at what we saw.
They found heavy metals like iron and copper.
Our own tap water was putting our health at risk, but Leaf Home Water Solutions made it easy to get safer water from every tap and hose. A whole home solution.
They have more than 250 product combinations and designed a system that fits our needs and budget. The installation took less than a day.
With Leaf Home Water Solutions, our water is safer and healthier. When we drink, when we cook, when we shower, even when we garden.
We feel better about our health.
Thanks to Leaf Home Water Solutions.
Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
Sponsored by Progressive. We make the claims process easy so you could get back on the road in no time. It's why over 43 million drivers trust Progressive. See for yourself at progressive.com.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, you know, we have a lot of moving pieces on this particular show, and we try to jump on them as they're breaking and as they're happening. And every once in a while, this doesn't happen so often, but because I listen to the audio that we play most of the time, and a lot of times I'm the one who's picking out the audio that we play. You know, but it's a team. It really is. I send emails to Ethan at all hours of the day, and Fred and I communicate, and Fred's always back there looking at Fox and monitoring. So you know how much we love, we love Senator John Kennedy. He's probably the favorite when it comes to the way he tells the stories. He's a wordsmith. But John Fetterman has become a very unique figure in American politics, even outside of this shutdown, I think it's fair to say. The one thing that I'm confused about with Fetterman, you know, he kind of sides with Republicans on a lot of the common sense issues, but you know where he breaks? Is on the trans issue.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I'd love to ask him some more questions about that. But here's something, and I'm not sure I played this yesterday, but this is Nancy Pelosi talking about Donald Trump. And Fetterman's got a great response here. Hang on here.
He's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do, yeah. I do.
Why is that?
Because he's the president of the United States and he does not honor the Constitution of the United States. In fact, he's turned the Supreme Court into a rogue court. He's abolished the House of Representatives.
Okay, a couple of things.
What?
What? I know. This is such a representative sample of how unhinged the left is right now. I mean, she's saying exactly what her team says all the time. These are the same people that are electing Mamdani today in New York City. But then you got a little common sense from John Fetterman saying, really? The most vile with all those other choices?
Well, I would say that's part of the worst creatures on the face of the earth are Hamas or like the leadership of Iran, or there's a lot of people on that. I would never use those kind of terms, and I wouldn't describe our president. You can really disagree with him, and I do disagree, but I don't think that's really entirely appropriate, but that's her words for that. So for me, that's just a different kinds of a Democrat for me. I don't going to call people they're fascists, they're Nazis, or compare the people in those kinds of terms.
Yeah, it's not that hard, is it? It really isn't that hard. Kind of take that off of the language in politics, but it doesn't seem to happen that way with 99% of the rest of his party. Why is he the only guy out there saying these things? It's unreal that they can't get 5 more to come over and open up the government, but they cannot.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the Illinois side, we've got what's becoming the usual jam for this week. And it's road work in the two left lanes, westbound 5564 from 70 to the Poplar, and a jam right now that goes back to 203. There's a little bit of volume eastbound on 6440 headed for the bridge, but eastbound on the bridge is fine. Then westbound 64 lines up Kings Highway in pockets all the way out through 70. 70 westbound, well, it's eastbound that we have an accident reported. And this one is as you approach Jennings Station Road. So it's just past Lucas and Hunt. Traffic slowing in both directions for that one. And then westbound 70, an accident reported just before the Blanchette Bridge. We had an accident northbound 270, really close to, well, it's approaching Olive. And they'd started in the right center lane, a jam there, and then the usual volume on southbound 270 at this time of day. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror Glass and Door. They have the largest, most beautiful showroom in all of St. Louis, full of the latest, most custom designs. It's in Chesterfield Valley. There you'll see why they say creativity unlimited, quality unsurpassed. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, I want to encourage you to get on the horn with my friends at Banner Construction. You can call them at 314-569-1050. You can go to their website at bannerconstruction.com. I was going to ask you, why would I do that, right? That's a rhetorical question. Maybe you are looking at some new siding. They specialize in James Hardy fiber cement siding. This time of year, though, as it starts to get a little chilly, and I was looking at the extended forecast, we're like dipping into the 20s here for the overnight lows very, very soon. If you have old, worn-out windows that are not energy efficient, you're going to have to crank the heat more. Think about your utility bills from the summer. They're already going to be, even if you have the best energy efficiency on the planet, they're still going to be high, I promise you. But if you have old, worn-out windows, they're going to be even higher. And those prices, by the way, they ain't coming down when it comes to Ameren and the utilities. So how can you stay within a budget, though, on a big project like that? They'll guide you through it at Banner Construction. 569-1050, the website, bannerconstruction.com.
Is your home ready for the holidays? Beat the holiday rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $139 and take $50 off air duct cleaning. Book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com.
250 years ago, a promise was made to connect families and friends near and far. And during the holidays, that promise is more important than ever. That's why USPS is building a better network to meet your needs with timely deliveries, easy and affordable ways to ship, and everything you need to make your season full of holiday cheer. Our purpose is delivering your peace of mind, knowing your love will arrive, bringing joy to all. The United States Postal Service. Learn more at USPS.com/holidays.
Let Banner Construction show you what a difference James Hardy can make to your home. Banner's exterior design team will show you custom design options to transform your home into the neighborhood showplace. Banner is a preferred James Hardy and Pella Windows specialist. With winter just around the corner, now is the time to think about Pella Windows for energy efficiency and comfort. Call Banner Construction, 314-569-1050 to schedule your free in-home consultation, or the website bannerconstruction.com, and have a banner day. Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
Beautiful sunny day in St. Louis. We have 2 more hours to go on this show, including a Tuesday edition of Sue's News, which is just around the corner.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Finger pointing from the campaign trail. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. After some voting locations in New Jersey faced temporary disruptions today over emailed bomb threats, the self-proclaimed Democratic Socialist in the race for New York City Mayor, Zohran Mamdani, blamed President Trump.
And we have to understand this as part of the general approach the Trump administration has taken to trying to intimidate voters with baseless allegations of voter fraud as a means of trying to repress the voice of Americans across this country.
White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt.
This is just another example of how the Democrat Party unfortunately stands for nothing. All they stand against is President Donald Trump. And I think it's quite sad to see that we have someone at the top of the ticket on an election day today saying such things about the president when he obviously had absolutely nothing to do with those threats.
The president calls Mamdani a communist. He's running against former Governor Andrew Cuomo and Republican Curtis Sliwa. The president and his policies have also come up in the New Jersey and Virginia governor's races and in California, where a new congressional map is on the ballot. President Trump argues a lot more could get done ahead of next year's midterms if Republicans scrap the Senate filibuster rule, allowing a simple majority to pass bills. But the White House getting questions on how Democrats might want that.
Because then the door would be open for Democrats to either pack the court or have mail-in balloting become permanent, potentially grant statehood to places like D.C. and Puerto Rico, things the president has warned against. The press secretary said, basically, we already know that Democrats want to eliminate the filibuster, citing their efforts to do it as recently as 2022 and saying the president feels very strongly about this. Still, not enough support among congressional Republicans in either chamber of Congress.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich at the White House. The Senate falling short again today on a bill to end a government shutdown that tonight becomes the longest ever. America is listening to Fox News.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line. But my throat has officially thrown in the towel.
Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. Their max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZzzQuil Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZzzQuil Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Delightful weather in play as we go through our Tuesday afternoon. Partly to mostly sunny skies. Let's top it out at about 71. That will happen about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, only dropping back to 55, so it's warmer. Wednesday, sunny and nice, 73. Thursday, sunny and 69, colder weather coming for the weekend. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, even though baseball has wrapped up and we didn't have a lot to really cheer on here in St. Louis, certainly in the, I was going to say in the postseason, I was going to say maybe half the season. The first half was pretty good, though, Fred.
Yeah, there was that run there early on.
I think until just after the All-Star break. If you really think back, I mean, I think we're being realistic that they weren't going to be a super contender, but it did look like they had a chance to be in the playoffs. But I bring it up because we have located a person who caught a home run ball in Toronto at Game 7 of the World Series. And this is unique because this guy, John Bains, caught Miguel Rojas' ninth-inning home run in Toronto. And then his kid, his son Matthew's right next to him, he grabs Will Smith's home run in the 11th inning to win the game. And John's going to join us,
and
right?
It's an incredible story of how they got away with the balls.
Oh, really?
Oh,
that's cool. Okay, so I don't know much about that,
Oh,
but
that's
I'll
a
have
great
to.
story.
Did you hear my Diet Coke crack open
I
there?
did.
That sounded so good, didn't it? Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. We have Mark Judge at the bottom of the hour. Mark Judge is someone you've heard about. You just don't realize who he is right now. He became a figure in the Brett Kavanaugh hearings because a lot of what some of the opposition research folks and, Christine Blasey Ford and all that stuff that they were saying was completely made up, and it was a hit job on Brett Kavanaugh. But Mark's also he's a filmmaker. He's written a lot of columns at hotair.com. He's not like one of the regular columnists there, but he always posts things that are very unique, and he has written about the media in a way that I think deserves some attention. And it's not only about the left-wing legacy media. Some of it's about the conservative media, and I think he's on point on some of this. And it deals with Tucker Carlson and this Nick Fuentes deal, which is kind of makes me want to throw up in my mouth, to tell you the truth. Gerry Baker. I was just thinking of Bob Barker there,
I
Fred.
understand.
Gerry Baker from the Wall Street Journal after 5 o'clock. And then I mentioned John Bains at 5:32. So there's a controversy. And this is another one of those things, like if you would Google it right now, you would not find out a lot of information about this. We had originally Jen Say scheduled to talk about this from XXXY Athletics. This is one of the issues that I'm going to explain here. I think she had to reschedule for Thursday because of some personal stuff. But this happens every once in a while, and now you have a Gold's Gym in Los Angeles, which out there's a fitness brand called EOS Fitness. I'm familiar with this because when I go to Vegas, Rick and
he
Dan
does
work
it,
out
EOS?
there. And I've gone there because I act like I do something because they're such workout
That
fiends.
is funny to
I go
me.
and I just go on the treadmill for a while. But anyway, so this is in they said it's the Beverly Center branch of Gold's Gym. I don't know if that means Beverly Hills or not. What happened is, and this person is described as a singer. I don't know if she's a popular singer. Tish Hyman is her name. And she goes on the TikTok and she goes, "Today I was naked in the locker room. I turned around and there was a man there, boy's clothes, lip gloss, standing there looking at me. I'm butt naked." That's what she said on TikTok. The dude then says, "I am a woman and I have a right to be here." And, Hyman didn't respond very well to that. And then there's this video. I'm going to kind of share this with you. It shows her filming the person as they argued, and you have some of the Gold's Gym employees attempting to, intervene here. Now, I will tell you, you've seen the video, Fred, right? Like, if you see the video, the air quote woman, unquote, in question looks nothing like a woman, okay?
Of course.
Looks exactly like a man, and that's who was in the locker room. And Tish Hyman says, "No, this isn't right."
Stay out of the women's locker room. We don't want it. He needs to have his gym membership revoked for that. You can't get rid of me for this. I'm a woman, and I have every right to not want a man in the restroom when I'm naked. There are girls naked in there. Look at them walking in there like it's okay. It's not okay.
So what happened was
Finally.
But wait till you hear the end of this. This
Oh.
is going to be mind-numbing to you. Okay, so she's actually taking a stand that's appropriate.
Yes.
Think about, like, I honestly, and there are a lot of things that divide us in this country right now, and I just don't understand how anyone can think that that's appropriate. I don't care where you are in the alphabet mafia. It's not appropriate to have a guy with junk in the women's locker room. It's not. Stop. Full stop. Right there. But it happened at the Gold's Gym.
Gold's Gym! Men! Grown men with big in the women's locker room! And that's why I'm getting kicked out, and I want to make sure the girls know!
Well, at least the dude has, is well endowed, according to her, so he's got that going for him.
Today I was naked in the locker room. I turn around and there's a man there. If you really want to be safe and feel good, why don't we just make trans restrooms? Because it ain't right.
It's not right.
I think this is probably happening at gyms across America. We're like, trans women are going into the women's locker room and not really caring about how women feel about it. And it's really hurtful, yo. Like, how you gonna say you want to be a woman or that you are a woman, but you don't give a how women feel?
Okay, so it's a significant story. There's no coverage of it, hardly.
course.
Newsweek wrote about it, but here's the deal. Her membership was revoked. Of course. They kicked her out of Gold's Gym because of her behavior, not the guy.
I can't take it.
The big,
yes,
that's in the
package.
But see, here's the deal. This is something that's important. This is California, all right? So I'm not going to defend Gold's Gym and some of these other gyms that do this because I think it's ridiculous. But what they say is we have to do this because it's state law. And if someone says they're a woman, if they say they're a woman, and this dude looked exactly like a dude, except for I think he had 2 earrings. I have 1 earring. He had 2, 1 in each ear. And that's the person who gets kicked out of Gold's Gym? I just like, what? Well, again, and here's the bottom line.
How come
on this.
nobody's racist in this? Because she, is a woman of color.
Ooh, that's actually a good point.
I can't
the
believe
trans person
like
is not.
It's like, how does that elevate above what? It's just all.
And I don't know what the LA TV stations did with this, but let's face it, we had something like this happen, and it blew up. I think it was a Gold's Gym, Lifetime Fitness or Gold's Gym out there in Chesterfield, right by like Clarkson and Clayton Road. And that got a lot of attention. And that person was absolutely doing it to poke the bear and try to get attention.
Yeah.
And I think in the end they did the right thing, if I'm not mistaken on that. But it's just bizarre.
It is, and there could be young girls in there. What if you're a teenager? And it's inappropriate on all levels.
And
but
this is
good
exactly
grief.
what Riley Gaines and Olivia
Yes.
Kolchak and some of these other athletes had to deal with on a regular basis with Will Thomas. It's not acceptable. But again, why wouldn't now in this particular case, I wouldn't think that it would be a sports media story, like a sports journalism story. So I'm not going to put this one on ESPN. But a lot of the other ones I would. And in this situation that I described earlier with the National Women's Soccer League, ESPN's not covering that.
Yeah.
So they're choosing not to, and that's what they do on these trans issues. They just choose. That's where I've said this before. Journalistic malpractice takes many different forms. Sometimes it's the clear bias that is inherent in the story. Sometimes it's omitting some of the facts of the story and misrepresenting them. And sometimes it's just ignoring the story altogether. Or more likely, do the story where you gaslight about racism, and then when the correction comes out and it shows that the graffiti was not racist, like in St. Charles where the kid was suicidal, right? And that was the real story, but they still, Fox, when they did that story locally, still ginned it up as a big deal. I remember that, and by the way, hopefully I'm not blaming Fox. It was one of the local stations. I'm pretty sure it was either Fox or Channel 5. But even knowing the facts of what happened, this is one of the most stunning things. I don't know if you remember this. They still reported on it, not only on the Friday evening, but on the Saturday morning. And they tagged the story. It's just so dishonest. They tagged the story with, officials say that the graffiti was not racist, or it wasn't graffiti, it was a noose. Okay? That the noose had nothing to do with racism. The kid was trying to kill himself. That's what happened. But the correction doesn't get out there. The original story gets out there. Everyone's saying racist noose found in bathroom. Because that's the narrative. When the narrative changes to a mentally ill child who might commit suicide, we're not interested.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
There is an accident on 70, and it just happens to be eastbound past Lucas and Hunt. Watch for that in the two left lanes. It's causing a delay for westbound drivers as well. Then there's an accident westbound 70 past 141. That's causing a delay. 6440 lines up Kings Highway out through 170, and then in pockets out through 70. Still a solid jam westbound 5570 from 203 to the Poplar due to road work. Northbound 270, an accident north of Ladue Road on the right side. And southbound 55, that is slowing as you head toward Bates. This report brought to you by the Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I really do remember the first time I went out in person to meet Mike Reynolds and the team at Michael's Flooring Outlet. I went to I've been to two locations. I've actually never been to the one in Creve Coeur. I've been to Darien Prairie, but Mike and I, we met first in Old Town St. Peter's. It's a beautiful store. And the thing that really kind of stands out at this point, and this is where it applies to you if you're going to do a flooring project, is the amount of product that they had, the array, the varieties, the colors, the finishes, the textures, all of those things. So it is always recommended, at least from my perspective, to go into one of the stores and see things and then take some samples home and match them up with your decor. Mike had a great experience even with Fred. Fred came over, thought he needed some new carpeting, and Mike was honest and said, nope, I don't think you need that, right?
Yeah, and the Creve Coeur store has all those samples as well. They're just everywhere.
Yeah, so you've been in that store.
Yeah, I've been in that one.
So you're going to get great customer service, great quality products, options for great quality, like Mohawk, top quality, maybe a little higher price point, but then, you have to decide for your lifestyle. Check them out today. 3 great locations. IGotFloored.com from Michael's Flooring Outlet.
When you go shopping, you may not get the bargain you want, but at least you know and can compare prices. It should be that way with healthcare, but too often it's not. Need an operation on your knee? Want to know what it's going to cost? Good luck. For 3 years, hospitals have been required to provide patients with list prices and have negotiated charges for some 300 services. Just over a third are fully compliant. In Missouri, prices differ greatly depending on a patient's insurance. The cost of a pelvic CT scan, for example, can be 20 times more expensive in one hospital than another. Price transparency allows patients to compare providers, forces hospitals to compete on price, and helps insurers negotiate lower rates. State law should require all healthcare providers to publish prices in a user-friendly form. What we don't know is costing us. The price of healthcare shouldn't be a secret. Check out our 2025 blueprint, Moving Missouri Forward at ShowMeInstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
You're listening to Leaf Filter Radio, and the guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Coonahan, is here to take your most pressing leaf-related questions.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have leaf filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/radio to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
To get this special radio offer, go to leaffilter.com/radio for your free gutter inspection today and get up to 30% off. That's leaffilter.com/radio for up to 30% off. leaffilter.com/radio. See representative for warranty details.
You know your customers. Ralph likes his coffee black on Fridays, but Mondays he takes a little cream. Jennifer comes in every 3 years when her lease is up to get the newer and better model. And for some reason, pepperoni pizza sells like crazy on Friday nights. Who knew? At Odyssey, we have the expertise to get your media plan done right. With ads like you're hearing right now, to targeted social media campaigns, search engine optimization, and location-based advertising. Advertise with Odyssey and help us grow your business. Visit ads.odyssey.com.
This is St. Louis Conservative. No filters, no fluff. Mark Reardon is back on the mic.
All right, got season news coming up here in just a moment. Mark Judge at the bottom of the hour. I think that's going to be a fascinating conversation. Gerry Baker from the Wall Street Journal coming up just after 5, plus an audio cut of the day and more is still to come before we wrap the show. We got to do this.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News, presented by U.S. Men's Medical Center.
How about I turn on my mic? I went to the polls today in the county for the first time, and I got to walk there, and there was absolutely no one there.
Was there
I
walked
anybody
right
there?
in on my place, too. You just walk in, and once they run your driver's license through, you're good.
You're like, okay, well, that was it. It was a non-event, but that's okay. Now, besides...
I'm going tonight.
Are you going to go?
I ran out of time
now
because
that
I
you
had
have a tire?
flat tire issue, but I'm going to go tonight.
Where did you vote, Sue?
Forder
School.
Forder. I wanted to say Fordham University, but that wasn't it. It was
Forder.
Forder.
I did Beer Bomb School.
Okay.
Both in the Melville School District.
I'm going to have to look that up.
You did
and see.
Beer Bong School. Is that what
Beer
you said?
Bomb.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I misheard you, Fred. I'm sorry.
Besides Election Day, today is National Candy Day and National Easy Bake Oven Day. I wanted one so bad. So bad when I was a kid. And my mother said, We already have an oven. It's larger. You can use this.
I think we had one. I mean, it was like
Did
my
you?
sister's.
Your sisters had it.
Sure, they had to.
So did they really bake?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. And my mother was right. I mean, I could have just put it in the regular oven, and I did, and it worked out fine. But, man, I wanted that thing. And they had these little tiny boxes where you could mix up brownies and put little tiny ones in there. Did they let you eat them?
I mean, I don't remember. I'm assuming that I would steal if they didn't allow me to. I would grab just my own.
Here comes Mark again. Great. On this day in history, 146 years ago, this is in 1879, Fred.
Okay.
Ohio bar owner J. Ritty, R-I-T-T-Y, invented the cash register to stop bartenders from pocketing his profits.
That's awesome. I love that.
That is the entire reason.
And that's how it started.
Yes.
What year?
1879.
Wow.
And he just got tired of it and said, I'm going to put it in somewhere, and you have to ring in. That's what he did.
But I wonder if you could, could he, because obviously they print out receipts, but I wonder if there was an ability to keep track of the actual sales and receipts and stuff. That probably had to come later.
That probably did. But yeah.
I always put those dates in perspective by thinking, is it before the Civil War or after the Civil War?
You're right.
And then I can tell, well, that's relatively new.
Yeah, that's after. And 62 years ago today, in 1963, the Beatles played a Royal Command performance in front of British royalty in London. And this was the show where John Lennon said, quote, people in the cheaper seats clap your hands. All the rest of you, just rattle your jewelry. We mean Dave Klein and his really bad English accent.
Oh, it's the worst.
And 45 years ago, it's 1980, and Ronald Reagan was elected president over Jimmy Carter. Today, 45 years ago, 1980 was 45 years ago.
That's insane.
It is insane,
It's just
Mark.
insane.
That was the first presidential election I covered at Mizzou.
Oh, my gosh.
And it was...
What'd you do?
It was over quickly.
Yeah.
That was when he defeated Carter,
right.
wasn't it? It just was like...
84 was my first and the first that I voted in. But, that was 1980 was my first full year in St. Louis. We moved here in the fall of 1979. So
wow.
But I can't believe that was 45 years ago.
Well, I know, I can't either. Fred, what was your coverage? Did you go interview
I
people?
was in the Boone County Courthouse where all the votes
in Columbia.
came in.
Right.
Okay.
And reported on the county council race.
We're going to go live to Fred Bottenheimer.
Oh, that's right. We had live coverage there.
Oh, I love that. All right, Game 7 of the World Series attracted more than 25 million viewers. That's the MLB's largest audience in 8 years.
That's awesome.
Isn't that?
It was a Saturday night. I don't even know if the football games that were on Saturday were that compelling, and it deserved a big audience that stuck with it because it was a great game. It ended up being a really good World Series.
Yeah, and I'm amazed by that because you'd think that the Dodgers-Yankees series the year before would have had more viewers, but apparently not.
Apparently not. You're right. Both coasts were. Well, I think it's Ohtani. I think he has a lot to do with it. But
I do think he has a lot.
I mean, I just don't think you can question that. All right, here's a Halloween story. A 27-year-old woman in upstate New York was arrested after she went to the police claiming she found a needle in candy that was collected during trick-or-treating. Guess what? She made it up.
Of course she did.
And she put the needle in it. Christy Hosier was arrested after she went on Facebook on Halloween night and claimed, I found a small sewing needle in candy, and it was collected during trick-or-treating. She also called the police herself and formally reported it. The police investigated, found out she made the whole thing up, and she had not even been trick-or-treating. What is the matter with people?
Did people just want attention in a situation like that?
I guess. She hadn't even been trick-or-treating in the neighborhood she claimed to have gone, so then they had to charge her with falsely reporting an incident. And there were also reports of sewing needles being discovered inside packs of gummy bears in Rockville, Maryland. That was also a hoax. That was a 9-year-old boy who did it and then finally cracked and told his parents it was me.
Really?
Yes!
Yeah. That little criminal. Look at that.
Well, it's bizarre.
Why would a 9-year-old kid
A
do that?
9-year-old may be looking for attention.
Yeah,
if you're
guess.
27, what is wrong with you? And then you call the police?
And you think you're going to get away with it, right? Which is my favorite.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, we got some Ring cameras in that neighborhood. And you're not on any of them, okay? And this little sewing kit that you have that's not been opened until maybe the last 24 hours is missing a needle.
It doesn't take Keith Morrison to figure that one out.
I don't think it would.
Netflix has released the full trailer, the first full trailer for Stranger Things Season 5 in less than a day. It racked up nearly 8 million views. As you probably know, the first 4 episodes will be released on November 26th. I'm still, jury's out for me.
Me too.
I think it's jumped the shark.
I'm having a hard time getting excited about it.
Because
I'll watch
the ages.
Yeah, because because of the way they did the last season, which Sue and I both kind of agree they could have wrapped it.
Yes.
But I'm a fan of the show. I
Yep.
just think that it's not fair to the fans to have gaps of this long.
I agree.
I mean, you almost have to go back and watch the whole damn series just to remember what went on.
Oh, my gosh, that's 100% accurate. Dolly Parton has just announced that her long-awaited Songteller Hotel in downtown Nashville is officially open for reservations. Now, the grand opening isn't till June of next year, but the hotel looks awesome. So you might want to get your reservation now. It's a little bit country and Dolly for my take. It's not what you would call subtle. Anyway, it's a 245-room hotel, and it will be a tribute to her life and music. Colorful decor. It's basically a Dolly dreamscape. And on the 3rd floor, you could go into her Dolly's Life of Many Colors Museum. So all of that, if you are a Nashville and a Dolly Parton fan, it's a 20,000 square foot exhibition, this museum that celebrates her journey in the Smoky Mountains. And Jonathan Bailey has been named People Magazine's Sexiest Man Alive. Hello. I had to look him up. I had no idea.
I don't know who he is either.
Well, he was apparently Lord Anthony in Bridgerton or Fiyero in the Wicked movies.
Oh,
Does
yeah.
that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's Fiyero in Wicked. That makes a lot more sense.
He was also in Jurassic World Rebirth, which I never saw.
I never saw that one.
Oh, I
either.
saw that.
Oh, you did? Do you don't remember him?
remember.
He's got dark hair and like a little bit of
It's
scrub.
cool because when Wicked came out last year, we have Steve Butts on the show. Steve's brother, Norbert, who's a friend of mine as well, 2-time Tony Award winner, was Fiyero in the original Broadway cast. So this guy that you just mentioned here, Jonathan Bailey, was caught walking around Manhattan with a T-shirt that featured Norbert's picture, which was super cool.
That is really cool.
Playing homage, if you will.
That's really cool. All right. Well, maybe I should save this for Jane being here. Quick overview. There are going to be Oreos for Thanksgiving. And if I tell it when she's here, then she'll order them for us and we can eat
good
them.
point.
You know what I'm
saying? Good point. Yeah, I do.
All right. And finally in Sue's News, we have today's random fact. The technology of smoke detectors was invented by accident. It's the 1930s. A Swiss physicist named Walter Jaeger was trying to develop a sensor for detecting poisonous gas. And it wasn't working. His device wasn't registering gas at all. So he gets really frustrated and lights a cigarette, and the smoke moved the meter on his gadget. And he was like, ta-da! I don't need poisonous gas, but I've just invented the smoke detector.
Those are the best stories. By the way, I still need to replace that damn thing that's up on my ceiling.
Yeah.
I need my handyman guy that got in touch with me. There you go. Sue's News in the books for a Tuesday afternoon.
I'm Jennifer Scordo with Your Money Now. Advanced Micro Devices reported third quarter results that exceeded Wall Street expectations. In October, AMD announced a deal with OpenAI that will rely on NVIDIA processors for running AI models. Amazon also announced today that it sold all of its shares in AMD. The Mega Millions jackpot sits at $800 million for tonight's drawing. Nobody matched the numbers drawn on Halloween, so the cash value now sits at $371 million. If you're lucky enough to match all the numbers tonight, you win the 9th largest jackpot in Mega Millions history. Mike Tyson has a new business venture called Cha-Ching's Price Fighter. It's for those struggling with food insecurities. As Tyson relied on food stamps growing up in New York, Price Fighter is a marketplace that finds the lowest priced items so consumers don't pay a higher market price. The Dow finished down 251 points today. The S&P 500 finished the day down 80, and the NASDAQ was 486 points down, or 2%. And that's Your Money Now.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I'll tell you what, one day you're sitting there minding your own business and you start to realize that retirement isn't as far off as it used to be. And you start to think, wait a minute, am I prepared for this? Because you need to have a written retirement financial plan in place. This is not something where you can just wing it and see how it goes. This is your entire future. And if you're not really sure how retirement works, and most of us aren't, how does your money work in retirement? How much do you need? You need to sit down with a professional, and that's what financial and tax architects do. They sit down with people all over the St. Louis area. But what they do is put on a class called Retirement Planning 101, and you could just go to it for free, and they'll talk for 2.5 hours and give you an idea about how taxes work, about how they work, and you'll just get a handle on it and feel better in general. It's free, but you have to register. So go to F as in Frank, FTA-RIA.com, FTA-RIA.com, and start there.
I'm Ultima Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Every time one of my children started driving, it was terrifying. Thousands of accidents happen across the country. We see it every day. If you've been injured in a car accident, call us.
Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
4:33. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We got Gerry Baker from the Wall Street Journal after the top of the hour. We'll talk about Mamdani and all that nonsense in New York. He's got some things to say about the shutdown as well. That's all coming up in about a half hour. You know I'm a fan of hotair.com, Sue. You've heard me talk about it quite a bit. Dwayne Patterson contributes at hotair.com. Yeah. Dwayne's not one of the regular contributors. They have a whole slew of folks who are up there on a regular basis. And Mark Judge is one that posts on hotair.com, but not regularly, but I always like his material. And he's a guy, as we will introduce him here this afternoon, that you might not know by name, but you will know the context when I have him sort of add to the context here this afternoon. Mark Judge, first and foremost, thank you for joining me this afternoon in St. Louis on 97.1 FM Talk. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. And I'm very, very happy that I tracked you down and got you come on here because I am a fan of a lot of the things that you post. But let's kind of talk about what the how you became relevant and how people might know you from the Brett Kavanaugh hearings and how you kind of came back into the public eye in an unfortunate way, I would say, perhaps.
Yeah, well, your listeners might remember that Brett Kavanaugh was accused of sexual misconduct at a high school party in 1982 by a woman named Christine Blasey Ford, and she claimed that one of his friends was in the room when it allegedly happened, and unfortunately, I was that friend that she alleged was in the room, and it's turned my life upside down, but I survived it and wrote a book about it and punched back. So that's the Reader's Digest version right there.
So the book is the book that you wrote, because I want to make sure it's the right one, The Devil's Triangle, Mark Judge versus the New American Stasi, or is that something different?
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, so that's the one. Because you get, and this sort of brings us to where we are currently in the post from this week where you wrote about some of the things that are happening on the left with the legacy media and their misfortunes, but also kind of said, look, there's folks on the right that are also making mistakes in some of their coverage. And you kind of pointed, and I haven't covered this a lot, Mark, but I started getting into the Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson thing yesterday, so perhaps maybe a little more context is necessary then. But you obviously have have personal experience with the media on a regular basis misrepresenting the facts of your story and Brett Kavanaugh's story.
Yes, and it happened, unfortunately, on both the left and the right. Now the left is appalling and atrocious and demonic and criminal. They're the worst. We know that. I should have sued many of them, and I've written extensively about that. But when the whole ordeal was over, and after, the Washington Post had profiled a guy talking about us who had never met us, making up stories, MSNBC and all this other stuff, I thought, okay, well, here come the conservatives, and they're going to talk about my book, let me have my say, write about me. And very few did. And to be blunt, as the son of a National Geographic journalist and an adventurer, I thought to myself, well, maybe these people are just cowards, because I'm out here naming names, talking about the people that did this to me, and a lot of high visibility platforms on the right are silent. And on top of that, some of the people who have written and spoken about us get facts wrong. Now, back in the day when I was coming up, you'd get sued. You if someone called you out, you'd issue a correction. And as I wrote on Hot Air, Ben Shapiro, whom I admire tremendously, did a video last year talking about the Kavanaugh thing, and he got several facts wrong, and he won't respond to me. I said, it's important you get these facts right.
Right.
We have to be better than the left. Christine Blasey Ford, she couldn't name anybody who was at the party. Well, that's not right. That's false. She did name people who were at the party, and the intention was to extort and blackmail us to ruin Kavanaugh's chances. That's why I was named. That's not a small thing to get wrong.
Yeah, right. And your overriding point, and this is why I found this intriguing, is because I have, and for decades, literally decades, focused on, left-wing legacy media bias, which has become, I guess, in the last 10 years, even more prevalent and more discussed because of Trump. We know that that's a unique situation. But when Bernie Goldberg at CBS News wrote his book in the late 90s, Bias, and uncovered some of that crap with Dan Rather, I've been talking about, and I've been exposed, and I've worked in newsrooms where there's a lot of bias. You're, though, making the point that despite the mainstream media being despicable, and they mislead us all the time, and journalistic malpractice is everywhere, you say it's also affecting conservative journalism. And I guess maybe the Ben Shapiro example is one case that you're making. Are there others?
Yes, there are others. The one place that gave my book a negative review is the American Conservative. So stop and think about that. While Kathleen Parker, a Pulitzer-winning columnist at the Washington Post, was praising the Devil's Triangle and praising me and defending me, a writer at the American Conservative was tearing me down. Stop and think about that for a minute. And as I wrote in Chronicles, in response to the piece, in his review of my book, I had several high school friends of mine who know both me and Brett closely said, he didn't get you guys a little bit wrong. He got you 180 degrees wrong. He said that, I was obsessed with the social pecking order of political Washington, D.C. Anyone who's known me for a half hour knows that I care nothing about the social pecking order of Washington, D.C.
Right.
I could care less about it. And, the reviewer's name was Nick Rowan. He and I have exchanged emails. But as I wrote in Chronicles as a response to this, he said that my hero was Pat Buchanan, who I admire Pat Buchanan, but I grew up in the D.C. Catholic ghetto, which we joke about. And he was never my big hero, even though I admired him. And basically, he got all these things wrong. Quickly, a big one. Charles Cook, who was the editor of National Review, said in 2018, if we're not careful, in National Review, which never wrote about me and didn't review my book, if we're not careful, the tactics used against Brett Kavanaugh might be used against someone without power and who's not well connected and who's just a regular person. Well, Charles, that was done, and I was the person they did it against.
Right, yeah. It's unbelievable.
I mean,
it really is.
And he took a swipe at me on Twitter the other day, and he said, are you still talking about how I don't think conservatives get canceled? I said, Charles, this is journalism 101. Would William F. Buckley have reviewed my book, yes or no?
Well,
You're damn right he would
have. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's baffling to me. That, it's also kind of baffling to me that you got praise from Kathleen Parker because she's not exactly the most staunch, right-wing person in America right now. She's kind of changed her views over the years. But your story to me is really fascinating. And I'm going to ask you to do something here, and I don't have a lot of time, but one of the things that you wrote about recently, this might get a little bit into the weeds, but I love it because I was a movie critic for several decades. You talked about how you kind of, in a roundabout way, kept a movie that was made about all this, to not be released, right?
Yes, and let me quickly put a plug in for the Anti-Communist Film Festival. Next year, I'm hosting an Anti-Communist Film Festival. Google Mark Judge Anti-Communist Film Festival, you'll find it. So to your point, yeah, Doug Liman, who's a big Hollywood director, he's done a bunch of Tom Cruise movies. One night I got a text from him, and it was right after my book came out. And he said, hey, we're doing a documentary about Kavanaugh. We want you to come up to New York and be a part of it. So they sent me a non-disclosure agreement. My agent looked at it and said, don't do this. It's an ambush. And they screened the movie at the Sundance Film Festival, and it never found a distributor. And it didn't find a distributor because they called me and I said, you guys have totally botched this. If you release it, you're going to get sued. You're going to look like idiots. And the film was spiked, so it never came out.
Isn't that interesting? That's crazy because, to your point, I mean, he's a pretty big filmmaker. He did some of the Bourne movies. He did Edge of Tomorrow, which I thought was a great movie with Tom Cruise. And, with this topic kind of getting put on the shelf. So you think it was the lawyers that said, we can't do this?
I ripped this guy a new one. I was on the phone with him for about 20 minutes, and I said, okay, let me outline what happened. You made this hit job documentary on Brett Kavanaugh. I was in your blind spot. You knew nothing about my book. All of a sudden, my book comes out, and a week later, you're texting me because you thought, oh, damn, we can't make this movie now that Mark Judge has a book out. So You're trying to get me involved in this hit job. And I said, what you have done is despicable. It's not journalism. You should be ashamed of yourself, and F you.
Yeah, well,
and
good
next
for
thing
you.
I do, no distributor. It still has not been released because my book contradicts everything in their movie. How can they release the movie called Justice when my book contradicts everything in it?
That is amazing. One of the things that you wrote in that column, too, is that, and this was not in the film, that Christine Blasey Ford's father actually apologized to Brett Kavanaugh's father?
Yes, at a country club not far from where I'm standing right now. Because, I read a review of Blasey Ford's book in Chronicles called A Hallucinogenic and Unrepentant Rant, and I talk about all of that. So he did apologize to him. Everybody knew what was going on. This was a deep state hit, which is why David Unrich at the New York Times apologized to me. If you Google his name, it was on Fox News. I confronted him about this. And I said, you wrote a lot of garbage about me and my high school friends. And he said he had second thoughts. He would do things differently. He had learned lessons. So.
Yeah, that's fascinating, right? Yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah. When does the New York Times reporter ever act contrite?
Yeah, never. Let's go back to the Anti-Communist Film Festival before I let you go, because tell me a little bit more about this, where it's going to be. You're trying to raise some money for it right now, right?
There's a bunch of articles. We have a GoFundMe. We want it to be in D.C. I have a list of 20 movies. I've written a series about it on Hot Air. And long story short, I had this idea when I was in the shower once. Like, let's show a bunch of anti-communist movies over a week or a weekend. And people reacted. I instantly was hearing from people going, we need this. We need a big party. This is a great idea. When is this? So we have a GoFundMe. There's a bunch of articles, fall 2026, and we're talking to people right now.
Yeah. Will you have a red carpet that features Zoran Mamdani, perhaps? Shouldn't he be at the top of the invite list for the Anti-Communist Film Festival, Mark? I think that would be great. Oh, my God.
Bob, I'm having a devil of a time trying to get those screening rights for The Lives of Others. It's the 20th anniversary of that great film next year.
Dude, that is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's the movie that I tell people watch because that movie about the Stasi is what we're doing here across the globe right now with social media nonsense.
when people ask me what was the Kavanaugh experience like, I say, did you see The Lives of Others? Yes. Did you see Caddyshack? Yes. Put those two movies together.
That's an interesting analogy. But The Lives of Others, I swear, Mark, is always on my list, top of the list, telling people to watch that. Because especially now when you're making these complaints and comparing Trump and conservatives to Hitler and all this stuff, go look at what the East Germans did in the aftermath of Hitler. It's in some ways just as bad. So, look, I'm a fan of what you write. I think it's very unique. I'd love to promote the film festival as you get closer. So we'll try to keep in touch. Do you remember a guy you went to high school with named Chris Cronin by any chance?
The name's familiar, yeah.
He's here in St. Louis. He said that you guys were not close, but that he was a couple years ahead of you, I think, at it was Georgetown Prep, right?
I was just at the homecoming. It's a great institution.
Chris said that you wrote a book in the aftermath of that where some of the names were changed and everything, but he thought that you got the facts pretty accurate.
I think I did. I mean, I've written some things that I maybe should have not written. Maybe that was one of them.
Well,
I don't know, but...
Well, I thought I'd bring his name up just in case. But listen, Mark Judge, thank you. I've become a fan. I'm really always curious when you post or when they post your stuff at Hot Air because it's different than everything else they have up there, and I've been intrigued. So thanks for jumping on here with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Anti-Communist Film Festival, big party, 2026. Let's go, baby.
Let's do it.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got an accident reported on southbound 55, and this is coming out of downtown before you get to Delore. Already in the construction zone and a jam behind it. Just a hideous jam on the Illinois side, westbound 5570, 203 to the Poplar Street Bridge, all due to road work. Eastbound traffic is lined up on the Missouri side, headed for the bridge, and that starts near Jefferson, but you're fine eastbound on the bridge itself. Westbound 64, that's a jam approaching Kings Highway, and then it's in pockets on out through the 70 split. We just have a mess on 70. There was an accident eastbound just past Lucas and Hunt, and it's created a massive jam behind it back past 170. Westbound traffic is jammed there as well. Northbound 170 is jammed approaching Natural Bridge. It's just really bad. And then another accident on westbound 70. This one is past 141, and there's a real jam behind that one. So just watch out for those spots tonight because those are particularly bad. This report is brought to you by Aspen Contracting. Aspen Roofs by Aspen.com. Now, if your house has siding that is cracked or faded or damaged, Aspen Contracting has materials, manpower, and project managers to get the job done fast. Don't let your home become an eyesore. Call Aspen today for your free siding inspection, 636-465-1696. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by McKelvey Homes.
Hi, I'm Jim Brennan at McKelvey Homes. Have you always wished for a brand new home in an established neighborhood? Select one of our move-in ready custom homes throughout St. Louis, or we will build on your lot. Visit McKelveyHomes.com and move up to McKelvey.
You know, I talk about Michael's Flooring, great sponsor. I'm starting to talk about Michael's Baths. Different company, not the same Mike, if you will. But I've met Mike Gower, who is the owner of Michael's Baths. His daughter, Melody, will likely be the one that takes your call when you call. And you're going to call because you need an upgraded bathroom. You need a new shower. Maybe you're going to turn a tub into a shower. Right now, they're offering you, because you listen to this show and 97.1 FM Talk, a free shower door or $500 off your project. They have a ton of experience. All they do is baths. They deal with all American-made products. Whether you want a walk-in shower, better storage, a fresh, modern look, they're there for you here in St. Louis. Michael's Baths has 5-star reviews. The installers were personally trained by Mike. He's very proud of that. They've worked a long time. And again, did I mention, all they do is bathrooms. So they're going to come in 30 to 50% less than competitors on their bids, and the work is going to be top-notch. MichaelsBaths.com or call 636-775-0800.
It's an annual tradition, the Florissant Veterans Day Parade at 1 p.m. on Sunday, November 9th. Come out and show your support as we salute the brave men and women who serve our nation. Details and parade route at 971talk.com/events.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they're very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
When it comes to affordable term life insurance, everyone's whistling the Big Lou tune. If you're over 50, maybe a bit porky, or have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost about $200 a month. Even if you're not in perfect health, call Big Lou, because he specializes in finding big chunks of affordable term life insurance for just about everyone. Don't let diabetes or other health glitches keep you from owning $500,000 to $1 million or more of term life insurance. For affordable term life insurance, call Big Lou. Don't hesitate. Call 800-700-6898, 800-700-6898, or visit biglou.com.
Call Big Lou, don't hesitate. 800-700-6898. Call Big Lou, don't hesitate. 800-700-6898. Visit biglou.com.
Swapping out your tires? There's nothing like it. With eBay, you can find the feel you're looking for, from smooth highway rides to grip for rough terrain. Get all the tires you need at prices you'll love. eBay, things people love.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, Sue, it's been well established how good my memory is. So honestly, I have no idea if I touched on this story yesterday or not. I had planned to, but there's a little bit of a follow-up. Did I talk about Lauren Traeger over at Channel 4? She happens to be the official investigative reporter for the Mark Reardon Show. There's a lot of compensation that comes with that, and it's a long-term contract as well. But she did a great story about this woman by the name of Corey Elliott. And she's a contractor. I don't think I did do this yesterday, did I?
You didn't.
So she's a contractor who gets a lot of city contracts and grants. And she's super close with Tish, with the former mayor, Tashara Jones, right? So she's in federal court. This says Tuesday. It would have been, well, I guess this is an updated story. What's today, November 4th? Okay,
yeah.
So I think they updated it. She was in court today to plead guilty to federal wire fraud charges for taking more than $1.7 million in pandemic relief funds from the U.S. government, right? So they charged her with 2 counts of wire fraud related to the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP. That was, a COVID thing. And the story that Lauren tells is that Elliott has been very close to the family of former Mayor Tashara Jones. In a Facebook post from March 2024, Virus Jones, Jane calls him Virus, I love that. His name is Vervis. But Virus Jones, Mayor Jones's father, wrote, "Meeting Corey is one of the best things to ever happen in my life. Love you, Corey Elliott." The two have been pictured together at events. Former Mayor Jones, too, had been seen publicly with Corey Elliott. So the story goes on to say that they learned in December, Lauren did and her team, that federal agents, this goes back to last December, okay? Federal agents were investigating after a local developer alleged that she and Vervis had improper influence over some big dollar projects. Federal agents declined to comment.
Think?
Okay, so that's why this is important, because Corey Elliott, okay, fine, because here's what Jones says to Channel 4. I want to be clear, Corey Elliott does not have the ability to influence me, my office, or any city department. Really? Because apparently she did. Now, this to me, I asked Jane about this. We'll talk about it on Friday on the roundtable. I mean, you'd have to think that Virus Jones might be on the hook for some of this as well. But they realized that in April of 2020 and then in 2021 in January, they got two loans, one for about $900,000, the other one for about $840,000. The company claimed it had 40 employees. There was another company that got a loan for $20,000. All the loans were forgiven with accrued interest. And court records say that she also had trouble in other areas. The Collector of Revenue filed a lawsuit against a roofing company that she was involved with. Anyways, this goes on and on and on. Waste Management in Missouri wants $78,000 from the roofing company. There's records that show unpaid real estate taxes. But this is even better because there's someone I follow on the X, formerly Twitter now, and the handle, and I don't know this woman. The handle is, hang on here because I want to make sure I get this right. Darn it. The point is that why did this just disappear on me? It's like I was looking at a tweet and it wasn't there. That the St. Louis Business Journal actually highlighted Corey Elliott for the Business Person of the Year back in 2021 in the aftermath. So she's basically stealing all this money.
Yeah.
And they're honoring her as like the business person of the year. Now, I'm a little confused because I did find this, and I had this pulled up right away on the X, formerly Twitter, and now it doesn't seem to be there.
Why did Vervis Virus go to jail in the first place?
You know, I wasn't here when that happened.
Hold on, let me see.
I don't remember all the particulars, so I can't.
Oh, 2 counts of fraud and served 1 year and 1 day in prison. It happened in 1995.
Okay, yeah. So this handle is St. Louis Woman America First, and she's kind of got the goods here on some of this. Yeah, St. Louis Business Journal awarded Corey Elliott the most influential businesswoman in 2021. And this is at the very time she's stealing $1.7 million from you, the taxpayers.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got really a mess on the roads. First of all, the Illinois side. And that is westbound 5570, just a parking lot, 203 to the Poplar Street Bridge, all due to road work. Then there was an accident on 70 eastbound past Lucas and Hunt, and that created a jam behind it. Then an accident westbound 70 past 141. Now that one looks like it may have been moved to the shoulder, but we still have a jam behind it. And 6440 is a better bet right now, but it's lined up approaching Kings Highway in pockets all the way on out through the 70 split. The innerbound southbound jams at Olive. We've got southbound 270 slowing from Page in pockets down through Gravois. At 55, there was an accident near Delore causing delays. This report brought to you by Aspen Contracting. If your home siding is cracked, faded, or storm damage, Aspen Contracting has the materials, manpower, and project managers to get the job done fast. Call Aspen today, 636-465-1696. I'm Sue Thomas with traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hi, I'm Bob Kraushaar with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Is your home ready for the holidays? Beat the holiday rush and call our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $139 and take $50 off air duct cleaning. Book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com.
Now that we're getting older, we've been putting more thought into maintaining our health.
We knew the water we drink every day could be filled with contaminants, so
we called Leaf Home Water Solutions.
They came to our home and did a free water test and gave us the analysis right away.
We were shocked at what we saw.
They found heavy metals like iron and copper.
Our own tap water was putting our health at risk, but Leaf Home Water Solutions made it easy to get safer water from every tap and hose. A whole home solution.
They have more than 250 product combinations and designed designed a system that fits our needs and budget. The installation took less than a day.
With Leaf Home Water Solutions, our water is safer and healthier. When we drink, when we cook, when we shower, even when we garden.
We feel better about our health.
Thanks to Leaf Home Water Solutions.
Schedule your free home water test today at leafhome.com/free and save 15% on all home water treatment systems. That's leafhome.com/free for your free home water test and 15% off. leafhome.com/free.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
KFTK FM Florissant.
An Odyssey station.
Some key races this election day. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump has urged Republicans to get out and vote, lending his support to New Jersey gubernatorial hopeful Jack Ciattarelli last night, calling him a friend and saying he wants to save New Jersey, while former President Obama campaigned for Democrat Mikey Sherrill, saying if people vote for her, they will put New Jersey on a brighter path. Polls there close in about 2 hours.
Both Republican Jack Ciattarelli and Democrat Mikey Sherrill agree that the top voter concern is the high cost of living in New Jersey. This race will be decided on where they differ. Sherrill blames President Trump. Ciattarelli blames 8 years of Democratic state leadership. The Ciattarelli campaign tells me they are encouraged by high voter turnout.
Fox's Brian Yanis in Bridgewater, New Jersey. Voting was interrupted in several places earlier due to bomb threats, but all polls have now reopened. In Virginia, they're also voting for governor, among other offices.
Democrat Abigail Spanberger, Republican Winston Earl Sears have been making their closing arguments. Spanberger is largely campaigning against Republicans in Washington, especially DOGE cuts to federal workers in a state with a lot of government employees.
Fox's Rich Edson in Leesburg. Virginia voters were also casting ballots for lieutenant governor and attorney general. A last-minute endorsement from President Trump for former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. The Democrat is running as an independent for mayor of New York City. The president choosing Cuomo over Republican Curtis Sliwa.
He wrote on True Social this about Cuomo and why he was going with him. He said a vote for Curtis Sliwa is a vote for Mamdani. Whether you personally like Andrew Cuomo or not, you really have no choice. You must vote for him and hope he does a fantastic job. He is capable of it. Mamdani is not.
Fox's Aisha Hasni. The only issue on the ballot in California is Prop 50. If voters approve it, it will allow the state to redraw congressional maps through 2030 that would favor Democrats. America is listening to Fox News.
It all comes down to this, folks.
Yep, the entire season is on the line.
But my throat has officially thrown in the towel. Sounds like you need Vicks VapoCool drops. They're max strength and vaporize sore throat pain.
Whoa! These VapoCool drops hit fast.
Speaking of fast, did you just see that play?
Yeah, he vaporized that ball.
That pun should have come with a penalty.
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks VapoCool drops. Use as directed.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Ultra, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Ultra helps Mike fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs, so he can wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Delightful weather in play as we go through our Tuesday afternoon. Partly to mostly sunny skies. Let's top it out at about 71. That will happen about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy skies, only dropping back to 55, so it's warmer. Wednesday, sunny and nice, 73. Thursday, sunny and 69, colder weather coming for the weekend. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
You know, we kind of predicted it, and it came true. Driving home last night after 6 o'clock, I mean, just pitch black.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost already dark because of the time
Midnight.
change right now.
Yep.
That's the most depressing part of it all, because we always bitch, and we had a very, very comfortable October. Let's face it. That was That was an October for the ages in St. Louis, didn't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Because it was in the 70s, upper 70s.
So great.
Sunny, not a whole lot of rain. We finally did catch up on rain. And we get into November, and to me, it seems like there's still a lot of leaves on the trees.
There are.
And I always gauge
Is that
this
because of the heat?
I don't know, because I gauge this when it comes to sitting in my tree stand in Howard County. I'm usually, there's still leaves on the trees, but not that many. However, I will say this, and this is my meteorological expertise, and I can almost guarantee it, right? It's just weird. It's Mother Nature. There's going to be a couple of days, at least one, between now and when I go out to that deer stand in Howard County, where it'll be like 40-mile-per-hour winds and shake these leaves off the trees. We always seem to have that.
Yes.
All right. Well,
It's
we'll
part
see
of the
what
plan,
happens.
I
It is
think.
part of the plan. Gerry Baker from the Wall Street Journal is back with us this afternoon. It might have been just a little while since we've caught up. Gerry, how are you? Welcome back to 97.1 FM Talk.
Yeah, it has been a while, but pleasure to speak to you again, Mark. Hope you're doing well.
I am doing well. I'm also very curious about New York City and what's going to happen and if New York City will do well. Now, you have a column with the headline that says Mamdani is a gift. I always kind of looked at Cori Bush as that kind of gift here in St. Louis, the gift that kept on giving. But you advise that Trump should unwrap it carefully. Give me your take on what's happening in New York City today and what might this result in the future, which is a little horrifying when you think about the consequences.
Yeah, I mean, look, all of the polling up until literally the last 24 hours has suggested that this guy, Mamdani, the very left wing, you can call him a socialist, you can call him a communist, whatever you want to call him, but he has some extremely left wing views. He describes himself as a democratic socialist. All the polling suggests he's going to win. He's up against, frankly, in Andrew Cuomo, a guy he's already beaten in the Democratic primary, a guy who is not very popular, kind of washed up former governor of the state, made a lot of enemies. So the polling says he's going to win. Now, there have been some polls in the last 20, 48 hours, 72 hours, suggesting the race is a little bit tighter. I mean, up until a few days ago, Mamdani had a lead of 10 to 15 points in most polls. There have been one or two polls showing the lead in single digits, so who knows? But look, barring an earthquake here, that is going to be the outcome. And again, don't make too many don't mistake this too much for a sudden affection for Andrew Cuomo. I mean, if Andrew Cuomo were to win, it would be because people, just decided they can't take this extreme left-wing man to be mayor of New York City. But look, I think he is a gift to Donald Trump. I mean, he is. On the same tonight, it's quite possible the Democrats will kind of have a pretty good, broad, sweeping victory, right? In the other states, they looks like they're very likely to win the governorship of Virginia. New Jersey's close, but again, all the polling says they'll win that. Gavin Newsom's going to win his, proposition fight to do the redistricting in California. We're going to see what happens with these Pennsylvania judges, but it's going to look a pretty good night. So, but Donald Trump, being the smart politician that he is, will make Zoran Mamdani the face of the Democratic Party. No one will care about, Abigail Spanberger or Mikey Sherrill. It will be Zoran Mamdani, and because he's so left wing, that's a dream for. One of the things I say in my column is that whatever you think of Donald Trump and his political skills, he has benefited enormously from his enemies, from his political enemies over the last 10 years. Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, what I call late onset Joe Biden. These have been gifts for him, and Zoran Mamdani is about to be another one.
Yeah, so when you say that he has to unwrap it carefully, because this is a gift for Trump, and it could potentially be a gift for all Republicans, because it seems like, and this is what's been so fascinating to me, that the Democrats haven't tried to distance themselves from him. I mean, maybe a couple of them haven't given a full-throated endorsement, but let's face it, even Obama gets in at the last minute and doesn't really endorse, but says he understands the charisma, et cetera. I mean, some of the ideas that this guy, and you know this better than certainly the listeners here, what he's about, they're dangerous ideas. And I guess I understand the appeal when people are hungry and desperate and poor in New York City, but he can't fulfill these promises of rent control and all these other things he wants to give out.
No, he can't. I mean, so two things. I mean, one, that the ideas are themselves economic in numeracy. He can't freeze rent. I mean, freezing rents would obviously make the housing supply situation in New York City much, much worse, because no landlords would, if landlords can't get a market rent for their property, they're not going to rent it out. There's just going to be a dearth of property. The city can't afford free buses and free childcare and all the other things that he's proposing, But he's not going to achieve any of these things in another sense because there are also strict political limitations on what he can do. Tax increases, for example, which he'd like to do to increase taxes on the rich, that would have to be approved at the state level. That's not going to happen. Some of these budget plans that he has would have to be approved at the state level. That's not going to happen either. But look, here's the thing, and here's what I do say in the column, and the reason I say that Trump has to unwrap this gift carefully is the reason people are voting for Mamdani is, and again, look, New York is New York. It's full of crazy left-wing people and, Democrats, progressive Democrats at 75% of New York City. So there's an element of that. But the reason that they're particularly voting for this man, and particularly over Andrew Cuomo and before that Eric Adams, is because they're especially younger voters are angry about the cost of living. New York City has always been expensive. It's now impossibly expensive. For young people, if you don't have a great job in the law or in investment banking, or you don't have your parents bailing you out, you can't really afford to live in New York City anymore. And the cost of healthcare is extraordinarily expensive. The cost of housing is expensive. The cost of regular things like groceries. And that's the warning, I think, for Trump here, in that while absolutely Trump will hold that Mamdani up as a crazy left-wing communist, he'll probably, there'll be all kinds of fights between New York City and the federal government. I'll be reminded of, what we had in the 1970s and, Ford to city drop dead. Well, we'll have, something like Trump to city drop dead as well. But the risk, there is a danger there. There is just a danger for the Republicans and for Trump, which is that while New York is unique and very much its own city, these issues of affordability, this issue of cost, this issue of inflation and prices is true across the country. And Donald Trump was elected in part last year because we had 4 years of a Democratic administration that not only failed to get inflation properly under control, but refused to even acknowledge it. I mean, they kind of, went around saying, no, prices, it's all transitory and you're imagining it and it doesn't really exist. Everything is fine. The risk here for Trump is that Trump is in danger of doing something very similar here, that he's at risk by focusing on, rightly, some of the far left ideas that this guy has, by focusing on his extremism, by focusing on his, how far out of the mainstream he is. There is a danger that he's going to be ignoring the concerns that not just people in New York City, but people across the country have about life becoming unaffordable for them. And I think that is a political risk.
I do too, and I've raised that point of affordability because there's no doubt that Mamdani has, tapped into that. And while folks listening to me here in the St. Louis area are not exposed to the outrageous prices that I'm sure Manhattan and other boroughs have, we still have, inflation, and it's all relative. Certainly to a certain extent or to a large extent. So I think there is some risk there. And then also you look at healthcare. I mean, one of the reasons I think that the Democrats are trying to use this as this pivot point with the shutdowns because they know that they probably poll a little bit better on healthcare, and they're trying to represent that right now. I don't know if you have any thoughts on how that's all going to end, but it doesn't seem like it's going to end quickly, does it? Because it hasn't so far.
No, but I think it is. I think it's got to end quickly. And I think, we've just seen today some warnings that air traffic control issues are getting worse, and that they're going to be. I saw somebody. I think there was a report somewhere today saying that someone from air traffic control was saying they may have to shut down, parts of the air traffic control system in parts of the country. I just flew through Kennedy Airport in New York, and the line, the number of TSA agents that are working, they're obviously, taking time off, a lot of them, because they're not getting paid. Those numbers are shrinking all the time. We're coming up to the Thanksgiving holiday. If we're in a position, Mark, a week before we're getting into the week before Thanksgiving holiday, and air traffic control and TSA are warning people that they're going to be, 5, 6, 7, 8 hour, 12-hour delays, I think the pressure on both sides actually to come to a deal before the holiday will be great. So I think it will be over relatively soon because I think we've got the SNAP issue too, where a lot of states are obviously going to be not going to be able to afford to pay these food stamps. And I think that's going to put pressure on the Democrats in particular to come to the table. So look, I think we are going to see a deal be done. And that, you're right, it does come back to that issue of affordability because I think that the healthcare. Look, you can argue about the Obamacare subsidies, but some of them do, some people clearly benefit from those subsidies who actually could probably afford to pay for their own health care. But there are others who don't. So,
that's right.
So all of this, I think, is contributing to this sense that prices are still out of control. Things are beyond the reach of most ordinary Americans. And again, that's a risk for Trump and the Republicans.
Gerry Baker from the Wall Street Journal is here. Let me ask you about, because this taps into something that I often try to do, and it doesn't always work, Gerry. But I one of the things I like about you is you're not afraid, to call balls and strikes on the other side and on Trump and Republicans. And you wrote a column about sort of the way moral relativism is working right now. And I would use the situation from 2 months ago or whenever that was with Jimmy Kimmel and Brendan Carr at the FCC, because I seemingly, along with Ted Cruz, was like one of the only people on the conservative side that said, okay, I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't think he's funny. I think he misrepresented all this stuff with Charlie Kirk. But I don't think that even the appearance of the FCC getting involved here is a good thing. Ted Cruz fully agreed with that, but there wasn't very many other people that agreed with that, and I was stunned. Now, the same thing happens on the left. Look, it's happening with John Fetterman. He's saying things that nobody on his side are having. But one of your points was this, and I've always tried to live, in my 3 decades plus as a talk show host, to try to say, well, what would we say if a Democrat did this, right? And that seems to have gone out the door with everyone these days.
Yeah, I agree. Look, like you, I've worked for 3 decades in American media, and I've seen the bias, the left-wing bias, up close. I've seen it in major news organizations. I've seen it in TV. I've seen it in newspapers. No one doubts that this, and yet, those late-night talk shows, which frankly just, there was a time when they were vaguely funny.
Not anymore.
When Jay Leno or Jimmy Carson did it, but they're not. They're just political diatribes by people who just aren't very interesting. So I completely understand why the president, why many Republicans think, this is just ridiculous. But, yeah, you're right. The idea that the government should – I'd say, first of all, there are alternatives now, right? We don't have to – I can't remember the last time I watched Jimmy Kimmel. Well, actually, I can remember the last time I watched Jimmy Kimmel. It was the night he was restored to his position because I wanted to see it because just out of a news interest.
Right.
That's literally the only time I've watched Jimmy Kimmel in the last 5 years because I know what he's going to say. Yeah. If I want, I don't want need or listen or want to listen to that sort of so-called entertainment. So there are alternatives. So there's a plurality of voices now in this country in a way that there wasn't 30 years ago, and that's a really good thing. And then secondly, Mark, as you say, we can't have the government of the day telling people, what's got to appear on, however biased they may be, what's going to appear on their news channels, on their media. On their media networks, because A, it's wrong in itself, but B, do we want that when President Gavin Newsom is elected in 2 years' time, and he says, I don't like Mark Reardon's show. I think, whoever your regulator is needs to pull your show off the air.
That's what people don't think about, and that's why I like to be consistent on that. Now, let me pivot just a little bit because I know you wrote about Bari Weiss and CBS. I have high hopes that maybe Bari Weiss, I'm a fan of what she's done at the Free Press. I find their coverage very unique. I feature a lot of their guests. Not as good as the Wall Street Journal, Gerry, don't get me wrong. But do you have, because I feel like I'm maybe a little naive here, I have kind of high hopes for Bari changing the landscape at CBS. A lot of people say, no, probably she won't. But, your point is that the biased media needs a complete culture change. I don't disagree with you on that. I don't see that as possible. I really don't, especially after visiting my alma mater, the University of Missouri Journalism School, and seeing what some of these young so-called journalists are up to with their agendas. I don't think you can change the complete media culture, unfortunately.
No, you can't. Well, look, what you certainly can't. Look, I'm a big fan of Bari Weiss, too. I think she's done remarkable things. I thought she took an incredibly brave stand when she was at the New York Times, and in fact obviously quit the New York Times over the ridiculous bias that there was there. I think she's done a great job with the Free Press. I think she's really single-handedly actually pretty much helped to reshape the media landscape. I give her a lot of or at least to introduce diversity in the media landscape. Here's where I am skeptical, and I part with you slightly. I know these big news organizations. Again, I've worked for several of them. The culture of these organizations is so entrenched. You can't change it by putting someone in at the top, like somebody at the top of CBS, and saying, now you're no longer going to be biased. You're no longer going to treat, Republicans as two-headed monsters and give soft interviews to Democrats. I mean, you can say that all you like, but these institutions, precisely for what you say, Mark, because university journalism schools, the type of people who go into these media institutions, these traditional media institutions, all think alike. They all believe the same things. They all promote the same propaganda. You're not going to change that by changing something.
No.
So, okay, a root and branch change, fire everybody and replace them, maybe, but I don't see them being able to do that, and I don't see them surviving the chaos. So, look, I wish her very well. I hope she does manage to change the culture at CBS. I'm just very skeptical.
Yeah, absolutely. Gerry, great to hook up with you again. You know I'm a fan.
Yeah,
Thanks
you
so
too.
much for jumping on here. Have a great week, and good luck with the election
Thanks, Mark.
results.
Appreciate it.
All right,
You too.
take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Crews have been clearing some of the accidents, and that's helping things. If you are leaving downtown, westbound 70 is a lot better. We had an earlier accident near Jennings Station Road. It was eastbound, but westbound was jammed. So now some moderate volume approaching Jennings Station Road. They cleared the one westbound 70 at just past 141. So we just have slow pockets from there out through Highway A. We do have an accident reported eastbound 70 east of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now, westbound 40, that's lining up Kings Highway, and that goes in pockets out through 70. Still a jam on the Illinois side, westbound 5570, 203 to the Poplar. That's all due to road work. It's kind of rough out there, and it's dark. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
Your garage door is the largest piece of moving equipment in your home. When it needs help, call the experts at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. For same-day service, schedule online at overheaddoorstlouis.com or call 314-781-5200.
It's motorcycle season in St. Louis. Time to ride. When the road gets rough and you're injured in an accident, you need someone who's got your back. You need Kaufman Townsley. We're local, we know St. Louis, and we don't settle unless it's what's best for you. When it's not, we go to trial, and we bring decades of experience with us. Kaufman Townsley, real people, real results. Call 314-500-5000. That's 314-500-5000.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
Hey, Stewie, I'm hearing mortgage rates have plummeted. The Fed's making moves. Is this the moment where folks can start saving some money?
Annie, I'm so excited, and you should be too. This is a great opportunity. Now, there's numerous ways to go ahead and save money. One is go from rate A to rate B, reduce it at no cost with the bagel loan, and save $100, $200, $300, $700 a month. Another way is to reduce the term. We took a customer, went from 29 years left on the loan to 20 years. Their payment went up $35 a month, and guess what? They saved $170,000 in interest.
Does that mean we should wait, or should we act right now?
Well, that's a good question. People ask me this all the time. The Federal Reserve is going to cut the rates. Maybe I should wait. No, the market goes ahead and adjusts for potential rate cuts in the future. So the rates are typically lower than when the Federal Reserve actually does something about it. So go ahead and refinance now. Later on, if rates go ahead and drop, we can always refinance you for free again with the bagel loan.
Contact my friend Stewie at 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan and MLS number 226715.
The ACA Marketplace has announced significant increases on their monthly premiums for 2026, with deductibles over $10,000. You can enroll with Greg Hammond's Freedom of Choice plans now. You don't have to wait. One of their plans lets you use any doctor, has zero outpatient deductibles, and it's 30 to 60% lower costs than most Obamacare plans. Other options are full coverage PPOs with national networks, copays, and 100% annual preventative care. Also, there's no income disclosure required, so no potential tax penalties. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive. Call Greg and they'll provide all available options. Call 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan managed and chosen by you, not the government.
Now back to Mark Reardon, calling out the nonsense, one segment at a time. 97.1 FM Talk.
I had Mark Judge on the show about an hour ago. He was one of the figures that emerged during the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, and he is a contributor. He writes at hotair.com, which I love that site. But we were just exchanging some messages, and I was so excited that he brought up this movie called The Lives of Others. He is having an anti-communist film festival next year, and we'll probably be talking more about that. But there is this great movie that is set in the early 80s in East Berlin when the Stasi were, so you'd think this is from the 50s or 60s, but what the East German police were doing to people like just regular actors and entertainers, listening into their conversations, manipulating them. It's a great, great movie, and it will remind you of some of the creepy things, unfortunately, that are happening across the planet at this point, which we should have a point of reference to in history. And that certainly is a really, really good one. So it's in, you have to watch the subtitles, but hell, everybody watches the subtitles all the time. Even me, I've started doing it. I'm embarrassed, but I have been putting on the subtitles, even though I can hear. I can barely hear, my wife would say, but I can hear. Okay, let me go back on Mamdani here a couple of different ways. This is, I don't think anyone's even talked about this, and I'm shocked by this, but they did, and I don't watch SNL. I simply can't do it anymore. And every once in a while, I will watch a clip or something, and we'll play a clip, which is what I'm going to do right now. Let me see who this guy is that played. They did this cold open thing, and they featured Mamdani and one of the SNL actors that played him. I'll look up who that was, but let me just play the bit here because they, in theory, mocked Mamdani, right?
I know some of you are out there scared of the idea of a young socialist Muslim mayor, so allow me to put you at ease by smiling after every answer in a way that physically hurts my face.
So that guy's name is Rami Youssef. He's a comedian. I honestly don't even know if he is a cast member of SNL. I'm not sure. Sometimes they bring in people to play, folks just for the bits. But here's what's more fascinating. So let's say that you're someone, and political satire is something that I'm quite fond of. And, we had The Onion back in the day. You have the Babylon Bee right now on Twitter. Satire can be an extremely effective way of making a point. And it can also be funny. Now, what they did there didn't seem to be so funny. I know that they poked fun at Mamdani just a little bit in that cold open where I read about some of the other claims. But this is what's unique about it. This Rami Youssef guy who plays Mamdani, think about it. You're up there, you're playing whoever you're playing, right? They should have been playing Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. And then you buddy up to the person that you're trying to satirically portray, because that's exactly what Youssef did. He called Mamdani.
Yo! Is that my tie? Dude. I mean, it's pretty close. We got the tie, we got the rings. You got the... I got the red bracelet. We got the whole thing. I got the red bracelet, the rings, and then...
So that's the actor. That's that Youssef guy. And then Mamdani is on the phone line, and they're just, yipping it up here. Oh, look how funny this is.
Man, we did your smile. Let me see that. Oh, my God. Dude.
I mean, this guy is out to destroy New York City. He doesn't like cops. He loves terrorists. He poses with people that were involved in the World Trade Center bombings. And the actor who plays him on SNL is just yucking it up and calling him after they do the bit.
Explain that to me.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Do they do that with all the guests they make fun of? Because I don't think they do. It's nuts. It really is. Now, on that topic of Mamdani, let's hear from a Democrat voter here who is, just wanting better things for the planet.
I think what's really important and standing out for me right now is if we can take ourselves like a high level, like not say immigration, not say economy, not say all the hot talking points, and just ask ourselves, how are we treating our neighbors? Like, how are we treating one another? And is it okay that yesterday, on Saturday, 42 million of our neighbors no longer can feed themselves? Is it okay that our neighbors are getting taken off the streets by ICE? Is it okay that gender-affirming care is being taken from young people who really need it to survive?
Yes.
Is it okay that the Supreme Court has now justified racial profiling? That's not how I want to treat my neighbor.
Well, half the things she said there were a bunch of BS, right? But you want to talk about treating your neighbor, and you have all these very important issues on the line. That's what they're doing in New York City.
Yep.
They're touchy-feely talking about their neighbors and gender-affirming care. Democrats, if you think gender-affirming care is in the top 100 issues of normal American voters in this country, it is not. It's not even close. It doesn't crack the top 100 because we think it's vile, disgusting, and it's child abuse, and it's been exposed that way. Now, on the kinder, gentler front, listening to this really, really heartfelt lefty call the Republican senator from Montana, Tim Sheehy, and leaves this message.
I just wanted to let you know that you are the most insufferable kind of coward and thief. I hope that one day you get pancreatic cancer and it spreads throughout your body so fast that they can't even treat you for it. I hope that you die in the street like a dog. I hope that your children never forgive you. I hope that you are infertile. God forbid that you ever meet me on the streets because I will make you regret it. I hope you die.
Let me explain to you who that is.
Oh, my gosh.
Let me give you an image of who that is, okay? That is the old white woman that's holding her sign at the corner of Elm and Lockwood in Webster Groves, the BLM sign, the pro-Hamas sign, whatever they protest. That's who that caller was. They like for you to think that they're the good ones, right? They're the righteous ones, and they are full of hate and disgust like that. Now, I want to get a little Jennings audio in here on the issue of the shutdown. Before that, Senator Kennedy says,
"This thing's beginning to look like something my dog brought up. You know, I mean, it's a multiple vehicle pileup, but I don't know what else to do. I'm going to keep voting yes, and hopefully at some point my Democratic colleagues will vote yes."
So, you know, the Democrats are trying to blame the Republicans. It's the Democrats who are not casting the vote to open the government. You remember this guy, David Hogg. For a very short time, he was the vice chair of the DNC, but then they booted him out. But he became very known for his outspoken views on gun control because he was a survivor of the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting many years ago. So he kind of became a name, and he's been on Bill Maher's show, et cetera. So he's on the panel with Jennings and Abby Phillips on CNN last night. He's making the case that the Republicans really are the ones to blame here.
The entire reason the government is not open right now is because Democrats refuse to be complicit in having millions of Americans, including 100,000 in Kentucky, your home state, if I'm remembering correctly, Scott, that rely on ACA that would see their premiums rise several
which you can deal with separately. It doesn't have to be, those two things do not go together.
But the way that they're doing this right now, they're combining both.
Yeah, so that's a really good point. I'm not sure who the female voice is, but that's the thing. They're conflating these two issues. Yes. It's not the same. You vote on the CR. The CR is what you voted on in the spring. It just allows the government to be funded. You want to talk about these other things that expire in December? We'll do that.
To support the budget still doesn't, if you keeping it closed doesn't fix the ACA. The ACA needs to be reformed. Healthcare needs to be reformed. This is a way bigger question.
You guys failed at that last time. The whole thing was repeal and replace. You had a trifecta. You tried this. You failed.
David, that's not true. They're still in the concept of a plan stage.
No,
they've been in the concept stage since.
Okay, well, you can talk about repeal and replace, but let's talk about the Obamacare subsidies, which were extended twice when the Democrats had control. They're temporary. They're not supposed to be permanent. Why not make them permanent? So then Jennings comes in and spikes the ball.
You would admit that the ACA was a Democrat legislation, yes? And you would admit that the subsidies that we're talking about now were passed by Democrats, yes, and you would admit that the sunset provision in the subsidies, which comes up at the end of the year, was in place because of Democrats, yes. Now you want to make it a Republican problem. These are not the same issues. You could open the government today, and then you could negotiate with with Republicans about ACA. And by the way, my suspicion is, and you know this, there are probably, and I know there are some House Republicans that would love to negotiate on it, but under duress, under a hostage-taking situation, connecting disconnected issues, and now you're throwing SNAP onto it, you're throwing all the federal workers who aren't being paid onto it, all because of this fight that you wandered into because of your wing of the Democratic Party. You all led to this SNAP crisis. You all led to this crisis of the government being closed, and you don't know how to get out of it.
Mic drop. Absolutely. There's everything that he said was absolutely accurate. And for anyone for a moment, and Fetterman knows this, I mean, he's at least admitted this, anyone for a moment to allege that the Republicans are the reason that the government is not operating right now is just ridiculous.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Things are improving on the roads, but of course it's getting darker. And these first days of this kind of darkness at this hour is always a little tricky. Now, we've got a jam westbound 5570, 203 across the Poplar due to road work. Southbound 55 slowing at Bates. A lot of volume westbound 64, and this is approaching Kings Highway. In pockets all the way out through 70. Accident reported eastbound 70. just east of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Westbound 70, just some moderate volume out of downtown and past the O'Fallon area. Still slow-moving traffic southbound on 170 from Olive through 64. Southbound 270, slow pockets from Page, and that goes down through 21 before it looks better. This report is brought to you by The Diamond Shop. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon from my friends at Generator Supercenter of St. Louis, and this is a great time, especially as we head into colder temperatures. We know, I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but ice storms will eventually probably move in. We know that's a possibility in St. Louis. That could bring power lines down, and then what happens? Well, you don't have to worry if you have a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. A lot of the installations that they do, all of them are permitted and code compliant. They only use copper wire. A lot of the competitors don't. They cheap out. They use aluminum wire to save money. That's not going to put you in a good place. They're often called for repairs or maintenance for generators that were illegally or sometimes dangerously installed. So give yourself peace of mind right now. Financing is available. Don't wait for the next storm or outage. Call Generator Supercenter of St. Louis for a free estimate. 314-499-2020. The website, GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com. That's GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
You've got your whole life ahead of you, so choose a Medicare plan you can count on. And that's what you get with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. With more than 45 years' experience serving its members, United Healthcare has plans with low monthly premiums that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today. United Healthcare Medicare plans. It's Medicare coverage Missouri can count on.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit Lance, DRURY, law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
And at 5:37, this portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly, heating, air conditioning, electrical, and plumbing.
From Troy, Missouri to Troy, Illinois. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, we got a little breaking news that does not look very good in Louisville. Hopefully there weren't a lot of people on board, but there was a UPS plane with 3 crew members that crashed near the airport. I mean, we've been seeing some of the videos, Sue,
Massive
a huge
smoke.
plume of smoke. This was a UPS MD-11 that crashed shortly after takeoff in Louisville, according to the FAA. This was right after 5 p.m. local time, so that would have been like they're on Eastern time down there, so maybe about an hour and a half ago. 3 crew members will continue to track that. That's that is nuts.
All right.
The amount of smoke was just incredible. All right, so the World Series wrapped, of course, on Saturday night. What an ending.
Payoff. Drilled to left field and deep and gone! No way! Miguel Rojas!
So that ties the game, of course. The Dodgers are back in it. Will Smith hits a home run.
Smith hits a high fly ball to deep left field. It's got a chance. It is gone! It's Will Smith in Game 7.
Mark, why are you talking about the World Series when our baseball team sucks in St. Louis and it was 4 days ago? Well, here's why. Because there are 2 guys that caught each of those baseballs, and they're related. It's father and son. And John Bains, the father, who I think caught Miguel Rojas' tying blast, is on the phone with us from Ontario, Canada. I'm expecting a full Canadian accent. John, how are you? Welcome to 97.1 FM Talk in St. Louis.
Thanks, Mark. Good to talk to you.
So tell me the story here, because this is crazy. You and your son are in the bleachers. So what happened?
We weren't actually in the bleachers. We were in our seats. So we had originally 2 seats, front row, Jay's bullpen.
Okay.
And I thought this year was going to be great. It's going to be exciting. So I got a 3rd seat so I could take both my boys to experience it together, myself and my 2 boys. And it was great. It was a great ride. I got 3 seats. And talking about Sunday, thanks for reminding me with the video clip that I heard, the painful
I
day we
know.
lived.
Yeah, that
Right.
wasn't so good for
So-
none of those were so good for your side, right?
No, definitely not. So what happened was Saturday morning when I woke up, I don't know, I just this eerie feeling in my stomach. My stomach felt like it was in knots, that somehow I'm going to get a home run hit by the Dodgers. I have no idea why I had that feeling.
Oh, my gosh.
But it didn't go away throughout the whole day. It just, my gut was hurting. It was, my gut was, oh man.
Now, John, do you have is that
Wow.
similar? Do you have similar experiences with anything else, or was this very unique?
No, this was unique. This
Okay.
is the first time. I never experienced anything like this
Okay.
before.
All right, so you have that
So-
feeling. You get to the ballpark. It's a great game.
Yeah, so I usually take a backpack, and I put 2 baseballs that I had caught for previous games from the bullpen or batting practice warm-ups. And I took them in my bag, not thinking anything. I go, I have this feeling in case it happens. I wasn't sure what I would do, but I wanted to be prepared. So 2 balls in the bag. We leave 4:30, get to the game, get in the gates 5:30, 2.5 hours before game time. Watch the Jays do the batting practice, then the Dodgers do the batting practice. I got another ball, so now I have three balls in my hand, in my bag. So in my section, there was a little boy, and I gave him one, and then went back to my seats. So I put 1 ball in my left pocket and left the other one in my backpack. Then Bo hit the home run, which was amazing. Our Rogers Center exploded.
Yeah.
The roof could have blown off that place. It was so loud, so crazy. We were so happy, excited. Hey, we're going to do it.
Right.
So then the game carries on. I go, you know what? The ball's in the left pocket. I should move it to my right pocket. And maybe if I get it, because I'm still getting this crazy feeling in my stomach,
gosh.
I can discreetly reach in my pocket and toss it on the field.
You're thinking that much about this. You got
Wow.
the other ball that's not a game ball, and you're like, I'm going to catch this ball. I'm going to throw the other one into the field, right?
That's what the thought was at the time, right? But I had no idea it was going to happen, but
Right.
that's what my stomach and my gut was telling me. So we're doing great. So we're up 3-0. 3-1, okay, we still got it. 3-1, 3-2. If we get another run, we'll be okay.
Yeah.
So we got another run. I go, okay, now we got it. It's 4-2. What is it, about an inning and a half to go? Then, lo and behold, comes the 9th inning. So Rojas is out. He hasn't hit anything in the World Series. Okay.
He hasn't done
so
anything.
let's
Right.
Get this guy done, then deal with Ohtani. Oh, my God. What do I see? The ball is launched and it's coming towards us. I go, no. This can't be happening.
Yeah.
It can't be happening. No. So instinctively, I reached over, made the catch. I got the ball. Then I turned around And I just realized, oh man, the game is tied. He probably saw my expression and read my lips of what I said, which I don't want to repeat on
That's
the
okay.
radio.
We like our FCC license here. Yes, I understand.
And then, so people from the people in our section started saying, throw it back, throw it back. I knew that was going to happen. So I thought discreetly, I reached in the ball. I thought I had my glove covering, but I didn't. I had my glove high, reached in the pocket. So I'm on cloud nine in a bad way. I don't know where I am. I'm confused.
Oh, yeah.
I'm disappointed. I'm angry. How could this happen?
Right.
So I reach in and get the ball, pretend to bring it to my glove, then half-heartedly throw that wimpy ball back to the field.
Oh, my gosh.
So you have the real ball in your possession.
Sitting in the bullpen comes up to me, starts pointing at me. You're not supposed to throw it. And I thought I was going to get kicked out.
Right, right.
Oh, my
It
gosh.
delayed the game, right? So,
Yeah.
But he went back to his seats. The people in my section and the one over there, don't worry, John, we got your back. We got your back. They're not going to toss you out. We're not going to let them toss you out. So he went back to his seat. Nothing came of that. I go, okay. So after that, another gentleman sitting in the section over about 5 seats away from me came over. Hey, if you have another ball, even a used one, I'll buy it off you. My daughter would really like a ball. So I told him, okay, let me see if I have one. Then I came back to my seat. I knew I had a third one because one was given to the little kid, one was thrown in the field. I had one more. So I walked over and gave him the ball. He said, oh, thank you very much. He pulled out his wallet. He's going to pay you. I said, no, I don't want the money. Just keep it.
Right.
And then he said, thank you very much. Him and his friend hugged me, said, thank you so much. And so I returned back to my seat. I go, okay, we got this. Bottom of the ninth. We got this. We got it. Bottom of the ninth. My God, inch and a half. We lost the World Series by inch and a half.
Right, I know.
Wow.
So, okay. So it's not over yet.
No.
And then it's so many things going through the mind and everything, like how did this happen? So we're watching. We're in good shape. Okay, 11th inning. We're still in good shape. My God, what do we see? Will Smith's up to bat. Okay, we should be okay. All of a sudden, another ball is launched our way. No,
right.
Please don't clear the fence. Don't clear the fence. No, it clears the fence, bounces on the bullpen floor, headed right towards us. We're in 3 seats. I'm in seat 1. My son Daniel's in seat 2, and Matthew's in seat 3 in the front. And the ball comes right to Matthew. It's a little bit high. He jumps up. It goes off the tip of his fingers, goes up in the air. Then he grabs it, comes down, and it sort of slips out of his hand, falls in front of his feet. And he had another ball that he had earlier caught from the warm-up sessions as well.
Oh, my gosh.
So knowing that I had told my boys what I did, not anybody else.
Right.
So knowing what I did, he did the same thing. He swapped the ball, threw his on the field, and kept the World Series ball.
Now, did any of the people around you know
Notice
that?
Yeah. You're not supposed to do that. I go, come on, like, really, come on. And then, so then, oh, my God, I go, again, what's going on here? So we were amazed, surprised, and
sad.
We were thinking, 2 World Series, like, who would think of it?
So
wow.
So then, what did anyone? You might miss my question. Did anyone around you in the seats know that you had those, or was it just you and your sons?
Just myself and my sons knew. Everybody else thought we threw the balls back on the field.
All right. So you leave then the ballpark, and the balls are not authenticated as World Series balls. And then what happens now? What have you done with the balls?
So what happened was we did ask to get them authenticated, but they said they cannot authenticate it unless the person that's authenticating it comes to you. But from what I was told, they left the bullpen areas around 7 earlier to authenticate the jerseys, the bats, and whatever they had in the dugouts and
oh, I see.
For the players. So we weren't able to get it authenticated. So we went home, and we got home. We looked at the balls, and that's the first time we looked at it. So then I'm looking at it. It said official ball 2025 World Series. Then it had the World Series logo on it. Oh, my God, that's amazing. I go, I'm sure it looks like it threw the ball back, but I think anybody in my place, probably 99% would have kept the ball.
Absolutely.
So as soon as we caught the ball, like my first one in the 9th, my phone just started to blow up. All family, friends, my business contact, they just started texting me, emailing me, like, hey, we saw you. Then my nephew called my nephew called me out on it. That, hey, I saw you switch the ball.
Oh, he did?
I wondered.
One person sniffs it out. Now, listen, John, I'm on short time here, but I got to know. So give me the update. I love this story. It's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. So what is the current status of the ball? I saw a quote somewhere where you were asked what price for giving up the balls, and you said, I'd take $1 million for the Rojas ball and 1.5 for the Smith ball. They were both game-changing baseballs. They were, and Freddie Freeman's walk-off grand slam sold at auction for 1.56. So are you keeping them as a keepsake? Are you going to sell them? What's going to happen here?
I've actually spoke to Mike Reyes, called him from SCP Auction in California. So after numerous conversations with them, we elected to put the balls up for auction. So Mike McGill from his staff came and picked up the balls this morning. He flew to Toronto and grabbed both balls, so they are going on auction. I don't know what they're going to get. I just threw that number out. I wasn't even thinking. But
look, dude, I think they're going to go pretty high. I'm just going to say.
You're gonna do well.
That was amazing baseball history, and we feel for you because, we weren't rooting for the Dodgers here in St. Louis. I think it's safe to say. But what an amazing story, John Bain, and I bet your son has a lot of history, thoughts about this. I mean, it's really quite the story. I'm so glad that my producer, Fred, tracked you down. And, then is there, like, if it does sell at auction, they're going to take a chunk of it, right? They take a percentage?
No, I don't think they're going to take a chunk of it. So I've negotiated with them, but I don't want to share too many details of it. But
can I negotiate with you that I take?
A good contract.
Can I take a chunk of it? Can I negotiate with you that right now? I'll do a contract. We'll be in touch. John Bain, great story. What a memory. I'm sorry the Blue Jays couldn't get it done, but man, that was a hell of a game the other night, and you have memories for a lifetime for sure. Say hi to your son.
I do.
Thank you, John.
I'd like to say, go Jays, go! You are still our team, and we love you, all of Canada.
Awesome. Thank you, John Bains. That was amazing.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Wow. All right. Well, there's an accident westbound 370 past 141, and it's been blocking the right side. Look for some volume there. The heaviest traffic is southbound 270 between Page and Doherty Ferry, and on the Illinois side, westbound 5570 from 203 to the Poplar. Now, westbound 64 still lining up. Hampton out through McCausland, again at 270, some moderate volume to the west. And it's mainly moderate volume on westbound 70 out of downtown, continuing out through the 70 split. This report brought to you by Barron Mirror, Glass, and Door. Simply the finest when it comes to mirror, glass, and shower doors. You can't find better quality, prices, or service. They have the basics all the way up to the elite. Barron Mirror, Glass, and Door can't be beat. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Visit 971talk.com/events and enjoy Trans-Siberian Orchestra, a Christmas tradition at Enterprise Center December 23rd. A portion of the proceeds benefits Siteman Kids at St. Louis Children's Hospital. Visit 971talk.com.
I hear from sellers all the time that they fear they have missed out on the selling market. They are so relieved to learn September, October, and November are strong selling months. With low inventory and hopefully lower interest rates, this fall will be a hot one for real estate. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. You may have heard me say, why pay more than 4 for years? Now it's why pay more than 2, saving you even more money. Call me 314-441-4444. And remember, why pay more than 2?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri, Kansas, and Nevada.
Let Banner Construction show you what a difference James Hardy can make to your home. Banner's exterior design team will show you custom design options to transform your home into the neighborhood showplace. Banner is a preferred James Hardy and Pella Windows specialist. With winter just around the corner, now is the time to think about Pella Windows for energy efficiency and comfort. Call Banner Construction 314-569-1050 to schedule your free in-home consultation, or the website bannerconstruction.com, and have a banner day.
The team at Ricken Financial want to help you make educated and informed decisions about your retirement strategies.
Why not rely on individuals who can optimize your thinking and optimize your plan and optimize all the resources and show you what's all available to be able to make a truly informed decision?
Call Ricken Financial today, 314-207-6211, or online at rickenfinancial.com, and join us for Kickin' with the Rickens, Sunday at 1 p.m. here on 97.1 FM Talk. Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor.
We
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
Sponsored by Progressive. We make the claims process easy so you could get back on the road in no time. It's why over 43 million drivers trust Progressive. See for yourself at progressive.com.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I certainly wouldn't make the case that John Bains was the most efficient and quick storyteller, but that was a hell of a story.
Yes,
it was.
I
was running up against the time, though. I'm like, we got to find out what's happening with the balls. And Fred told me that he thought there was a development today. So you got to think
must have been
the auction house has to be taking some of that, though.
Well,
wouldn't you think?
maybe he did a flat fee
Yeah,
with
I don't
them.
know.
I don't know.
We'll see, but what a story.
Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
All right, so Nancy Pelosi says this about Donald Trump.
He's just a vile creature. The worst thing on the face of the earth. But anyway.
You think he's the worst thing on the face of the earth?
I do, yeah. I do.
Why is that?
Because he's the president of the United States and he does not honor the Constitution of the United States. In fact, he's turned the Supreme Court into a rogue court. He's abolished the House of Representatives.
He's abolished? What? What? So she's loopy, but I love John Fetterman's response.
Well, I would say that's part of the worst creatures on the face of the earth are Hamas, or like the leadership of Iran, or there's a lot of people on that. I would never use those kind of terms, and I wouldn't describe our president. You can really disagree with him, and I do disagree, but I don't think that's really entirely appropriate, but that's her words for that. So for me, that's just a different kinds of a Democrat for me. I don't gonna call people they're fascists, they're Nazis, or compare the people in those kinds of terms.
Yeah, one of the only sane people on the Democrat side, and the shutdown continues. We're back tomorrow at 3.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've been dealing with some accidents this afternoon, but things are improving. Westbound 370 thinning out. They've cleared that accident off to the shoulder past 141. Still some volume behind it. And westbound 70, a slow pocket or two. Jennings Station Road out through just past 94. And we've got 64 still lined up, but it's moderate volume. And that's Hampton in pockets on out through the 70 split. Now, southbound 270 is really slow as you head down toward Ladue Road. And still a jam westbound 5570 from 203 to the Poplar Street Bridge. We've got road work on the Illinois side. Eastbound 64 east of Highway 50 due to road work there. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they've been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Windows, siding, kitchens, baths, outdoor spaces. They give you quality craftsmanship and lifetime warranties. Go to lakesiderd.com. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Guys, it's time to take charge of your health with my friends at Victory Men's Health. Mark Cox here. I already love what they do at Victory. They do hormone optimization, sexual health, weight loss, even vitamin